What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Season Gaming Bitcast, episode 296, our post-summer showcase special. It is good to be back. I have missed you guys. It's been a few weeks. We were obviously off last week. I was out the week prior to that. So we're coming back strong this week with a showcase rundown special, and we finally have our good friend Detective Seeds. Don't jinx it. All right, not even here. He's finally here, so it's going to be a good show. We're going to be running down all of the summer showcases, kind of going through all of the games. So that's going to be the whole show today. I will input some of my playtime that I had with certain games throughout to give you some kind of hands-on impressions from some of the games that are unreleased, which will be cool for my trip to LA. So it should be a good time. As you can see on your screen, if you're watching us on video, the formatting of this overlay is a little off. I didn't have time to fully finalize it. No big deal. But I wanted to introduce our guest today, Mr. Detective Seeds. He is a good friend of mine. We've talked for a while, runs his own channel, and very, very good quality content creator you should be supporting. So good morning, brother. How you doing?
Well, good, man. I appreciate you guys having me on. I know we've been trying to work this out, and appreciate you guys.
I was afraid to ask.
No, yeah. It's been awesome. Obviously, I've been watching you guys' podcast for a long time, friends with you guys. So it's just awesome to come on, be able to talk games and chat. And anytime you get to talk games with friends, it's always fun. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. So we'll have you kind of promote out later in the show. So what is Don doing? Good Lord, you're distracting me, Don. Not that I don't greatly appreciate it, but you're distracting me. Okay, so Mr. Rodriguez, we are coming off summer showcase. You're here. You're ready to go. I think you should be happy a little bit after some of what was shown, which we'll talk about. But how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm gonna be honest with you, Seeds. I thought you were Australian for some reason. So it kind of blew me away when you started talking this morning. I was like, "What? What's going on?" Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I'm glad you're not Australian, I guess. But I love my Australians. So super excited.
I can confirm we did not send him to the criminal island. So
the penal colony, as they call it.
Yes, the penal colony is how we refer to that around here. So. Hello, all of our Australian friends.
Hey, first time I heard that, I was like, "Whoa, oh,
yeah." Leave it to England to stay in the cloudy, rainy, small island up here and to send our criminals to the gorgeous paradise down here. We're not too bright at times. It happens. Mr. Hogue, rocking the, I can't say the word because it's banned from this show, but the pirate hat relating to some type of game that you enjoy.
We can talk about Skull and Bones as much as anybody wants.
Muted.
I want you to know, folks, that after the wonderful show we had 2 weeks ago, I'm no longer allowed to talk about Skull and Bones.
True.
So, Ains, I want you to own that before I take off my pirate hat here, because I think there are biases on this channel that people don't understand. Look at the bottom left corner of our video screen, folks. What is this even? I don't even know.
I don't know what that is. It looks cool, though.
We'll put aside the pirate hat for right now. And when we come to the Ubisoft Ubi Forward show, we'll talk a little bit more about one of my favorite games of the year.
I'm sorry they're canceling it, my friend, but yeah, we will talk about it. Mr. Tie Guy, coming off of what I'm hearing is the best Destiny has been in a long time. How are we doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. McClunky, everyone. Nice to see y'all. And yeah, it's been a really busy 2 weeks for me, basically, from the moment the last episode of Bitcast ended. I've been on Destiny for about 2 weeks here. So coming off that, feels good. Feels good to be playing Destiny. Don't always get
dragging
to say that.
Hogue to the ending.
Drag Hogue through the ending, which was fun. We probably need to do an exotic quest together pretty soon, Hogue. So hit me up when you get to that.
You still talking about Destiny?
Yeah.
Okay.
Also separately, Hogue and I need to have a lover's tryst, as I assume you were alluding to. But that's neither here nor there.
Fair enough. All right. So we've got a few things to housekeep on before we get to the showcase rundown. So let's start with Tide's picks. And Tide, I mentioned Gears of War 2, and you went and did Pirates. You're killing me,
Nice.
Todd. You're killing me.
Nice.
We got a couple. She did. We did cartoon and realistic. Let's start with the cartoon ones. What do you think here?
You don't have earphones on. It's crazy.
That is, I didn't even notice that till now. Yeah.
I like that
Wow.
Travis is in a completely different style.
With a
Hey, you
full
look like
beard.
that one guy from the
No
Alphabet.
disrespect.
Can you grow a beard, Travis?
I can grow a beard. Although I don't know if I would. I certainly wouldn't grow that soul patch that Hogue has there. That's horrifying.
Roughly speaking, this is exactly how I look playing Skull and Bones, folks.
He
I think
grows a
Dan
soul
looks the best
patch each and
here.
every time. Also, is that a puka shell necklace? Did they just turn Hogue into a douchebag? Is that what is that what happened? That's crazy, dude. That's crazy.
Dan looks kind of suave and unamused at the same time. I like it. It's good.
That's my
Also,
normal
I just-
face.
I just want to point out that y'all are on a boat, maybe together, and you guys set me out off my own. You guys cast me out on the. I believe that's the.
You're on a dinghy.
The dinghy.
I'm in the lifeboat. I think that's like this. You guys exiled me or something.
Yeah, we did. There's a hole in the boat too. You'll be fine. It'll be fine.
Bad, man.
We're gonna take it to the realistic stretch here. The more horrifying.
Nice.
So, why do we all have ghoul noses?
Because we're skeletons.
Wow.
Are we?
And it looks.
Yeah.
We have
I
a lot
No,
of
I have
skin.
I have
We
a
just
lot
have
of
a weird
skin to be a
nose.
skeleton.
Yeah.
Honestly, they didn't change that much about me, and I'm a skeleton. I kind of it's just my face minus a nose.
That's just you with a different nose.
I really like
man.
your half glasses, Travis.
I like my half hat. it's like going through my head. Honestly, that is I got really messed up by the AI here. They did some horrifying stuff to me.
Why does
You get
Dan look
really-
like an old painting? Like
He does.
he's like melting.
It's like the pirate Mona Lisa.
I do. I follow you around the
man.
room. It's not great.
Yeah, the eyes follow you. Ty, thank you as always. Appreciate you. All right, let's get caught up on some super chats, Mr. Rodriguez.
boy.
We start. Oh, random name came in first this morning.
Random name. Yep, sure enough. With the $4.99 super chat, super excited to hear everyone's opinion. Definitely the best Xbox since 2007. Man, that's a
We're
long
going
time.
to talk about it.
Yeah. Yes. we
Random
are.
name. Would
Yeah.
you still be excited to hear everyone's opinion if we all agreed that the Xbox show was bad? That's what I
Probably
want
not.
to know.
I haven't
That's
spoken to
exciting.
Travis before the show, but I can promise you we won't all agree on that.
Yeah, that's
It was. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just curious if they would, because they say they're super excited and then they state their opinion, and I'm wondering, would you be super excited if all of our opinions
If we
were
all
horrifying
disagreed.
to you?
Travis, you're
Yeah.
always questioning the unconditional love, man. What happened to you as a child?
Not that.
We don't have time for that.
Yeah.
We do not have time for that.
How long is the show again?
I got a hard stop here, Travis.
Wow.
Dan's like, I got a 2.5 hour
There
hard
it
stop. We
is.
can't get into it.
Now you sound like my parents. Good job.
It's Father's Day, so if you start talking about daddy issues, I'm out.
Yeah.
Well, happy Father's Day, everyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Happy Father's Day. Are you guys all fathers? I know 3 of you are.
Yeah.
Okay.
4 of us. You will be next
Congrats.
year, Travis, so you can join us.
Definitely not. Never gonna happen. Death. is death.
Hey, listen, we'll take it. If you get a crab, like a pet crab, we're just gonna celebrate with you.
Not if you get crabs. We need to specify. You get a pet
Or
crab.
both.
Very specific
Or both.
a crab.
First of all,
So
crabs
much
are sick.
crab talk.
So, dude, Hogue is like in the anti-crab. Who hurt you, bro? What
A
is
crab,
this?
apparently.
Crabs are cool. They're sick. But yeah, I'm gonna get one as a pet. That's insane.
Random name. Thank you. Googleman coming in early.
With the €5, hey, Googleman, the guy who wrote the 1992 book Death by Chocolate, Marcel. Yep, just passed. That's sad. I'm sorry, Googleman. That new Star Wars game looks kind of fun. Well done, Ubisoft. I'm not even gonna try it because
You got
I
to
have
Ron
no
Burgundy
idea.
that. Well done, Ubisoft.
You guys
I
ever
love
think
that we always get a
Googleman-
random fact from Googleman.
Yeah.
I feel like Googleman is trying to leak to us the answers to Jeopardy. like every night. Like he's got the 401. He's like, this will help you,
guys. Yeah.
I suppose I just want to know whether he died by chocolate.
That's a good question.
Fair. 20. What is that? 32 years later.
What is death by chocolate? Is that diabetes?
The book's just called Diabetes.
Yeah. What actually happens to you if you die by chocolate? Is that?
I'll let you know because I'm going for that. You know,
Heart failure.
I did not read this book.
Join us during Bitcast 312 as Dan examines this in depth.
Yeah.
Googleman, thank you. Don with the $50 the first $50 super chat.
First one. Man, Don. Hi, Bitcast. Today is a special day. It's the last Bitcast episode before my girlfriend and I move to Rochester, New York for her medical fellowship.
Wow.
Very nice. I want to thank you all for the many hours of entertainment while I've driven up and down to her for the last 18 plus months.
Is that a euphemism?
No.
No, I remember
That's
we were here for the beginning of the
We were.
love affair. Yeah.
Yeah, this has been a full story arc through super chats.
This is a love story told through a semi-weekly podcast about video games.
Well, the story was that we helped made his travel possible because we were entertaining. So the theory goes.
It's beautiful.
This is perhaps the worst delivery mechanism for a story ever told, but we got there in the end. Don, that's awesome though. That's great that you'll actually be together in the same place, because I'm sure that's been tiring, and good on her for her medical fellowship. Fantastic. By the way, I guess you ran. Say it again.
Where's Rochester at?
Rochester, New York.
Upstate.
Yeah.
It's kind of that's surprising. You haven't heard of that area. It's kind of a well-known area.
Looks like he ran out of this is a continued super chat, so we'll get to the other one here.
Yeah. You all won't ever know how much it has meant to have you in my car on those 2-hour drives.
I was in the back seat the whole time, my friend.
I was probably in the trunk. The joy and laughter you've given me. Now maybe I'll finally catch up on BC episodes. I love you all. P.S. Hogue, any advice for a place equal to your latitude?
Don't invest in a pool.
Yeah. Yeah. You're going to be up north. Here's my advice. South-facing driveway for sure. And watch the incline on your driveway. That's
Rochester,
always been
New York.
Listen, if you face the south in the wintertime, the sun will melt your driveway. There you go. New homeowners, look for that. It's a great piece of advice. You never have
my advice for your property in Rochester, New York is if you have a hill in your backyard, try digging around for some golden plates. Maybe that'll. No one. Come on, Rochester, New York. Joseph Smith. Okay, that's fine.
I gotta look it up now.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening. Don, thank you very much for the generosity. Congrats to you and the lady. And I hope the trip goes well and everything you get settled. So thank you very much. All right.
Absolutely.
Let's get to it. So we're going to start, boys, with Summer Game Fest. So Summer Game Fest, by the way, was out at the YouTube Theater, which was like a 45-minute drive through LA to get over there to go to this. Me and a whole bunch of people were in attendance. I will tell you, we'll start with your overall thoughts once we go through and then we'll go through the games here. But overall consensus after that show in person was kind of mediocre, I will say. I felt like, as I watched this again to go through our guessing game and everything else, there were quite a few announcements. I just think it more focused on kind of, maybe not the gigantic AAA games, right? So I'm sure there's quite a few games that people may be interested in, but like I said, the vibe was kind of after the show, 5, 6 out of 10 type thing. So what'd you guys think after watching it?
Well, Alan Wake 2 was my game of the year last year. So
Yes,
hearing it released physically later this year, I think is great for people that were holding out for that. You are not going to be disappointed by Alan Wake 2. And then them basically shadow dropping Night Springs, which we knew was supposed to come out in spring 2024. But revealing it there with Sam Lake on stage and then having it available essentially the next time I could get to a video game console the next day was awesome. And Night Springs, we could talk about. It's a little short, but I love it as an addition to Alan Wake 2. And I did play it that Saturday after the Summer Games Fest. So that was one of my favorite announcements of the week.
Cool.
But
cool.
overall,
I've heard it's 3 episodes. Yeah. So I've heard it's 3 episodes, about an hour and a half each. Is that about right?
It's about an hour each. And it trends shorter than longer on that. But they're very different in tone. They're basically a celebration of Alan Wake and Control and Quantum Break, which the last one they can't legally say, so they do a bunch of stuff to work around that, which I thought was pretty amusing. As a lawyer that works with licensing intellectual property and a lover of Alan Wake, I thought that the whole thing was cool. It just probably should have been 5 or 6 episodes instead of 3, in my opinion, but here we are.
Cool. Yeah, seeing Sam Lake on stage was always cool, and his typical kind of personality, and humor. So that's good.
I'll go more weirdos making games. I love Sam Lake.
Yes. So we'll go through all the games here shortly, and I've got a few notes on kind of certain ones here. Obviously not all of them, because if you didn't know, there was something like 60 total games listed as part of Summer Game Fest. So we're not going to go through every single one of them, of course, but we'll go through quite a few.
Now that counts. That can't have been games that were covered. It like you're including like commercials and stuff. Yeah.
It was their list that was provided after. It probably included a few commercials. I lost count when I was going back through it. I got to like 40 and I just stopped. So I think it was probably in the 40s if you take out ads and things like that. Either way, Dan won our bet for the number of games that were going to be shown on that line item on the guessing game. But C's, what'd you think, man? I know sadly you couldn't get out to LA. We were hoping to catch up and have some drinks and do these shows together. But check it out from home. What'd you think of Summer Game Fest?
I thought it was okay. 6 out of 10, maybe, give or take. Black Myth Wukong was my main game takeaway. I'm pretty excited for that one. I have some concerns about it just because of some performance issues that they were trying to deal with. Optimization on across the board, even on the PlayStation 5. So that was my main takeaway. Lego Horizon, I'm excited to play through with my kids, especially my youngest. He's really into that phase of these different types of games and stuff. So I do think, and I made a comment on another podcast. Jeff has done a fantastic job on kind of picking up and doing these shows. I just wonder the longevity of it with some of these bigger companies and bigger publishers doing their own things and being able to drop their own marketing beats, how he's going to be able to sustain doing 2 shows per year in the summer and also the Game Awards. So I'm interested to see next year kind of how that goes with some of these companies doing their own things. And it is fair to say we saw a huge lack of AAA titles there and larger presentation of some of these other companies. So I'm interested to see how he navigates that. But, regardless, I think he always does his best to put together a good show. But Black Myth Wukong was definitely my big takeaway from that show.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. And I was going to bring that up is, one of the conversations we were having out there, especially after the Xbox show, is that you've got PlayStation doing their own thing, Nintendo doing their own thing, and now Xbox doing their own thing. And we, now obviously we realize how big Xbox is post ABK, right? Post Bethesda, right? So now you're left with, Jeff, to your point of trying to do 2 shows a year with other publishers and developers. Of course, there's plenty of games there, but I don't know if they have the same level of impact, right, as like what we saw out of the Xbox show, which we'll obviously get to, because it's just, those are much, they're the big budget, big blockbuster titles.
Well, so, and we're not going to talk about some of my favorite shows of this whole week in June, right? Which was like,
there were a bunch of others.
Day of the Devs and the Wholesome Direct had, I don't know, 100 games between the two of them. And we're not going to talk about those shows at all. So I do think that there are questions about whether the stage experience is necessary, whether the single location experience is necessary. One thing I want to talk about when we get to the Xbox show is that from the home viewers experience, they didn't use the stage at all. Like that was a direct to us.
Yes.
And so it seemed weird to have that taking place in a theater at all.
Yeah. They did that last year too. Same thing.
That's weird.
Yeah.
And it's no
Very
fault.
weird.
Yeah.
Don't say that loud. It's fun to be there.
Oh no, I'm glad that you get to go, Ains. I'm just saying that Ubisoft
should come too.
By comparison, when you go watch the Ubi Forward and they have a few stage presentations and you can tell that there's an actual audience there, that's a different feel than Xbox putting all of their stuff from their executives in video form already. So it just looks directly like a direct.
It's no fault of Jeff. He can't control like who comes and who doesn't. I'll be interested to see next year, maybe the year after, like, is there enough weight there to be able to justify doing 2 shows, or does he just bring the heat at the Game Awards, and then the summer, is just kind of that virtual showcase or in person, but with the bigger, the bigger publishers kind of doing their own thing. I'm interested to see, because this year was a little light.
Or maybe the Game Awards shouldn't be a game announcement show and should actually just be an award show. And then they can use the Summer Game Fest to announce games and have trailers, because it is a little weird that the biggest, the current biggest game reveal show of the year is ostensibly the Oscar video games, where, famously at the Oscars, they announced all the new movies and showed movie trailers. So makes sense. Not weird at all.
I think logically what you say makes absolute sense, of course, right, Travis? When we've talked about on this show, I think the sad thing is Video Game Awards have grown in popularity. I don't think you're going to see him turn course.
Oh, definitely not. Also, he's making money hand over fist.
Yeah, exactly.
Reporting on recently.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's the other problem, is the money that these guys, reportedly had to spend to get, their games up on that, on that Summer Games Fest. I mean, it doesn't seem, I don't know, man. It doesn't seem very feasible. Feels like you can, with a decent social media presence and a little bit of word of mouth and YouTube, you can probably do, similar numbers, depending on your game, I guess. But it just seems like that's a lot of, especially for these smaller indie devs, to throw 100,000, 200,000, whatever it was, at Jeff to get their game on there, man.
Yeah.
So I've talked to developers about the cost of like showing your game at like the Game Awards show at the end of the year, and it is insane. It's like a lot of money. In Jeff's defense, he does try to pick some of the smaller games that he thinks are, good enough to warrant him including them in the show pro bono. And he does include some of those. So there is some of that happening in the background. I think the flip side of that is that if he's not personally interested enough in your game, then he goes, all right, well, if you want to be in the show, you got to pay me a ton of money. But the general response from like small developers I've been to who maybe wanted to be included in the Game Awards show and weren't, is that, yeah, like advertising is super expensive, and the Game Awards show is basically an ad show, right? Like it's a show where you're buying like a prime time spot, and anytime you do that, you're going to spend a crap ton of money. And some of them still do it if they have a publisher. Usually the publisher will include like one of the big shows or something in it. Of course, if you are a small indie dev, I would advocate that you talk to maybe a media outlet that doesn't make you pay for coverage, which we were able to do on occasion, like we did for Eternal Strands.
Who's the developer that you're referring to there, Travis?
We?
Season Gaming.
You said we. Yeah. Who's we?
I'm referring to my outlet, IGN. But of course there are other media outlets.
Not everybody knows you, Travis. I'm just trying to help.
That's fair. Well, if you're a developer and you're watching this show, IGN does this cool thing where we cover games and we leave the advertising to a whole separate team. So if you talk to our editorial team, they don't charge you to talk about your game, which I've always appreciated. So
I continue to be surprised that the first look is not a paid spot. So there you go.
If it is something created by the editorial team, it is not a paid product, and the IGN First is made by editors. Now, of course, there are plenty of opportunities for you to get on IGN and pay for it, but you don't work with editors when you do that. That's kind of one of the good things about being a large media company, is you have a little bit of separation of church and state there, which I think is good.
The firewall is good, I think. Yeah.
I think that's one of the things that jumped out to me. So Summer Game Fest, which was weird to me, right? Because you think about the directs and you think about the State of Plays or Xbox Showcase or any of the other ones, right? And Summer Game Fest is the only one you can, outside of the smaller shows, I think, where literally he's on stage and he's walking off stage while we're sitting in the audience for like 2 minutes of ads to run. And it's like, why are we running ads in the middle of the showcase? Like, that feels very odd for a live showcase to just stop so you have ads in the middle of it, especially when you've got a live audience. It's very
well. SGF's the only one that's not selling its own games, right?
That's also true. Yeah, he's not a publisher in that sense, but it's just it was kind of disjointed, I think, at some time. So
I don't love what his shows have become. I agree with Seeds that I think it's good that he has existed to try to push forward on these shows existing when there was a time when it was not clear that they would at all. But what they have become is not a terribly useful expenditure of my time for the most part. SGF, to give the total kind of feel for the week for me, was my least favorite of the shows that I watched. And I say that on the macro level from a week that I really enjoyed. I really felt good about gaming and what I would be experiencing in the future, finishing this week in a way that I haven't in a while. So that it was a good week for the gaming industry in my head, but SGF was not really it for me.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. If you kind of step back and look at everything that was presented over the 6 days or whatever it was, I agree with you. In fact, it was kind of funny being on site because if you not aware, right, in LA, so the YouTube theater where Summer Game Fest Showcase happened was in a different place from where Summer Game Fest Play Days was, which is where media, press, etc. were get hands-on with games. That was a different location. Then the Xbox Showcase was in another location, and then Ubisoft was in another location. So I think in 4 days I took like 15 Ubers, just literally bouncing around LA. You know what I mean? Like trying to get to all these places back and forth.
Not the easiest place to navigate.
No. And you get stuck in traffic and you're kind of screwed. So the funny thing that came up several times over the 4 or 5 days in LA was, man, I wish there was some sort of like place where everyone could just go and we could do this over a weekend, like together. And it's like, yeah, no shit. It's called the convention center where we used to do it right there. It's quite funny. It's come full circle. It's almost like, when we started losing cable and going to subscription services, and now there's 20 subscription services and people are like, I wish something could just bring them all together so you could just buy one thing. It's like, well, no shit. That's what we used to have. Mm-hmm. It's kind of fallen apart at the seams. But I think viewed externally, to your point, Hogue, just watching it online is actually, it's not too bad because it's a lot more efficient.
Yeah. But you could do that if you're at a convention center. We also used to do that as well.
Could you feel that sentiment out there live, kind of the lacking or kind of how we kind of felt watching it at home? Could you feel that kind of sentiment out there live with the other people around?
Yeah, it was a little strange because you had Ubisoft, Xbox, Summer Game Fest Showcase, which were in theaters, right? So you're there in person, but then all the other ones, the Wholesome Direct, Day of the Devs, all that kind of stuff were just online. You know what I mean? So it's this weird mix as you're trying to cover things live. Like while other showcases you guys were watching, like the Wholesome Direct, etc. Like I was literally at Summer Game Fest Play Days playing stuff, so it's hard to keep up with everything when you're doing it in person. So let's run down some of these games from SGF. There were a lot of announcements. I will give him credit for that. Whether or not the games interest you, obviously it's a personal thing, but there were a lot of games that were announced. So the first one he opened with Lego Horizon. I think Seeds mentioned that. So this is, see Travis's face. So my kids are grown up now. I don't have a lot of interest in this, despite liking Horizon. But, there were rumors of this ahead of time. It's coming out this holiday. They did not give a specific day. But interest level in this, is you think this weird for PlayStation to go down this path? Or, general thoughts?
So I do have younger kids. I tend to like the Lego games more than some. I think you might remember I talked very highly about the Skywalker Saga Lego game. I really enjoyed that. That was one of my favorite games of that year. But I really want to hear from Dan on this because to me, Horizon sells for graphics. It sells for robot dinosaurs. It sells as a tech demo for PlayStations. And Lego depends on intellectual property or other things that are popular in order to make the jokes that they do. And I don't see Horizon being a good fit for the Lego video game franchise. So, Dan, you're the one that I know the most who has played Horizon the most. What do you think of a Lego Horizon? Is that a product that could work?
I have no interest in it whatsoever. I also don't like Legos. So we've discussed this in the past.
Legos at all or Lego video games?
Generally anything, like anything related to Legos. I think they're terrible. I mean, my kids have like some really cool ones up there. They've got like a GT, 500, whatever it is, like like the really intricate ones with like the kits that you can buy with the lights
the
and everything.
Technic ones,
yeah, they're very, very cool, very, very expensive, and I don't have to worry about them, stepping on pieces like I did when I was.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I was thinking Dan sounds like somebody who is talking about Legos as someone who stepped on a Lego barefoot and experienced the world's most
I've done that several times.
Yeah.
The problem here is
ground.
As much as I love the Horizon IP, I have no interest in the Lego version of that. I don't really care for the humor that it uses. I was the same with the Lego Skywalker Saga. I love Star Wars. I started playing that and I couldn't stand it. I mean, it was just over the top, like just stupid.
That's the point.
Jokes over and over again. I was just like, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Do your thing. Not for me. Not at all. So, I mean, just keep like if they did Hitman Lego, I'm not sure I would like that. So it's just stay away from the Lego thing. I understand there's the market for it. I don't know if this is gonna do extremely well. Just so you guys know, I just dropped my earpiece, so I can't hear you, but I'm going to continue to talk. I really should have a backup. But anyway, yeah, I'm not a humongous fan of the Lego, like just going Lego. Don't go Lego. You'll never go back.
Wow.
So
I will say, I think that this. So I have a very good relationship with PlayStation. I've been working with them now for about a year and a half, almost 2 years, and this game very much falls under their experimental category, other games. And I think that the goal behind this was to see how it performs on the Switch as a third-party move to see, can we attract some of these users over on the Switch to come and want to see the rest of Aloy, or just are we just going to capture a large pocket of high revenue over there on the Switch? I do think that if it performs very well, or even just reasonably well, we'll probably see Kratos come next, and then kind of work their way through on some other characters. But I wasn't surprised by it. I was surprised by some of the people that thought Sony wasn't involved. I'm not sure how anyone could have came to that conclusion when they own the IP. So I very much understand why they did it, and I think that they're going after that market specifically by going to the Switch of that Asian market that they're trying to capture even more users and players over there. So I think we'll see how the sales goes, but it definitely falls under their experimental category that they released.
Well, that's cool that they're experimenting and trying to capture more dollars. My problem is the game doesn't look good.
You think it looks bad? Like, I'm not interested in it, but I don't think it looks bad.
I'll just say, like, all of the stuff that I care about with, I think Hogue was pretty spot on with which was right when I was doing, I was like, well, this is a weird franchise to do in Lego because I don't really think of the world building or the characters as like the central thing, and you kind of need that, right? Like when they do Lego Lord of the Rings, it's because everybody knows the Lord of the Rings story and those characters are so iconic, and so when you turn them into goofy, sparsely talking Legos that are sort of like larger than life versions, it is endearing. And when you see Aloy as it just feels like a different character, right? Like, because I couldn't really tell you what a Lego version of Aloy would look like, but I can tell you. I don't think she
has much of a character to parody, right? I mean,
exactly.
I think Horizon's a weird pick.
Horizon is a weird pick for the Lego world. I think really the only thing it has in its pocket is that there's going to be giant Lego dinosaurs, but it kind of remains to be seen if that will end up being cool. I could see them. The one thing that popped in my head when I was watching this was like, oh, I guess, Horizon is a game about like ripping parts off of dinosaurs and then adding them to your repertoire. So if they find a way to like, I can rip off a Lego piece from a dinosaur and then craft it into a weapon or something like that, I could see that part of it. But everything else, like the world building and the fact that I think most people don't know the story and all the other stuff, I was just sort of like, this is weird. and it didn't really capture me. I also think this is this not the first Lego game not made by the old Lego studio? I think the Skywalker Saga was their last Lego game. So this would be
of Traveler's Tales.
Yeah, isn't this a non-Traveler Tales Lego game? Because that was their last Lego game, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I haven't looked, honestly.
If that's true, then that kind of makes a little bit more sense, and also makes me a little more nervous. But I don't know anything about the game beyond that. But definitely,
what's with the hot dog,
an odd
man?
I think it's a good idea for Sony to explore taking some of their more mature products and taking them down to a Lego or other kind of family-friendly brand. I just think Horizon's a bad fit. And I think Horizon's a bad fit for a lot of what Sony has done. I think it was a bad fit to try to sell the PSVR 2. And the real politic in me suggests that it's because the gorilla head is now the studio head. And I don't think that's very useful for moving Sony products. But we'll see. We'll see what the market says.
I'm very curious to see how it does on the Switch, to Seed's point, and I think obviously Sony is too. Good comment from Paul Hamilton I want to read here, which I thought was interesting. So he says, I was hoping it would be a Lego adventure through multiple Sony franchises instead of just one. I was ready for Lego Ratchet and Clank, Uncharted, even Jak and Daxter. It's Jak, not Jax. You got me confused there, Paul. Jak and Daxter to bring back an old franchise. Yeah, I think that could have been interesting too, but I guess we'll see. We'll see what happens.
In fairness, it's Jak, J-A-K, right? Like that's not a real name anyway.
That's true.
Yeah, Astrobot's probably where you want to live on that one. I'm very excited about Astrobot. Obviously, that was before the SGF show, but Astrobot is going to have a bunch of Sony references. You already see it in the trailer. I've already purchased my Astrobot. I'm super excited for that game. It is going to be kind of a celebration of Sony like the Playroom was, and I think that's going to be cool. And I think a Lego Astrobot would be something I'm more excited about. But honestly, I think that Lego Ratchet and Clank sounds the best out of the ones that I just heard mentioned.
Yeah, I think that could be fun for sure.
I did just confirm that it is not being developed by the same developer that's made on Traveler's Tales. Yeah, it's Guerrilla Games and Studio Goba, which, I mean, who knows? I mean, best of luck to him. But yeah, that it definitely.
I mean, they're good.
You could see the difference. You could see the change, right? It's not Traveler's Tales. It's very different.
I think Guerrilla stuff tends to be a little hollow. Like I feel the same way about Killzone as I do about Horizon to some extent, which is that they're very pretty and very empty. I like Horizon more than Killzone, but they don't have a lot of personality, either franchise.
Fair enough.
Yep.
Rob asked me if a playable demo of this was available at SGF. I did not see one. I know that PlayStation was having a partner event post SGF, but I believe that was an industry event, not a media event. So I'm not sure, Rob, but I didn't see it. So one that I was interested in here is No More Room in Hell 2. This one looks cool. It's an 8-player co-op, kind of open world over a massive map. Not open world, but a massive map, if you will. Coming out this Halloween in early access with permadeath. So basically it's kind of apocalypse zombie type thing, but you got 8-player co-op trying to survive together. So maybe like an evolution of what do you call it? Left 4 Dead on a big open kind of map. So I thought this one looked cool just because I like horror games, but it looked good, at least in motion on the screen.
What does permadeath mean in this context?
So I think what they mean is you start a game, right? So say like the 5 of us jumped in and we're playing, and when you die in that game, you're dead. You basically have to start your run over again, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's revives or whatever as you're playing co-op, but if you die, then you start over and do a new run.
Yeah, it's like that zombie game, the one with the God, why am I forgetting the name? But yeah, like
because that zombie game can call up about 1,000 games.
But the zombie game with permadeath, the big one where the
Last
people
of
are
Us?
shooting. No,
Has the permadeath? Zombies. Is that what you're talking about? Last of Us with the permadeath mode?
There's
He
several
meant like,
zombie games with
no,
permadeath.
The hardcore
I'm talking
mode.
like a multiplayer
gotcha.
game where like you if you shoot somebody in multiplayer,
Back 4
the
Blood?
character is just dead forever.
Yeah.
I'll think of it. But yeah, it's one of those
State of
games
Decay.
where it's supposed to be
State of
scary.
Decay.
Not State of Decay. Come on.
If they have permadeath,
I think
I'm sorry I raised this question.
Yeah, anyway.
Anyway,
H1Z1?
I think it might be
That's
H1Z1. I'm trying to remember of it.
That was a battle royale game.
Yeah, That was like a survival battle royale type thing. Yeah, I played that for a while.
The point is, gaming has made a lot of games about zombies, some of which included a hardcore mode or permadeath.
Yes, very true. I figured, Travis, you'd be excited about this one. Cuff Bust.
Yes.
It's being made by Mr. Choo Choo Charles, developer. Your favorite game. Yeah, his name's actually Choo Choo Charles now.
Yeah, actually, that game did look good. Look, I won't
funny.
hold it. I won't hold it against the guy that his first game did not resonate with me. But that game looked funny. I'm interested to see if his second game does better, and I'll review it. Looks good.
Yeah,
he's good at marketing.
It's a 20-player escape game. Obviously, going for kind of humor here. So, like prison escape game, looks quite funny. I always forget if this is Grease or Gris. Dan, you used to remind me all the time because you love that game.
I've always called it Grease.
It's Grease, right?
Yeah.
Okay. We're going with Grease. The new game from that developer is coming out later this year called Neva. So it looks, again, very kind of artistic, very beautiful type of presentation. So we'll see how that performs, if it kind of has that same hit as Grease did, because Grease kind of struck a chord with a lot of people. So
they have really, really good art at that studio.
Yes. Beautiful. Yep. Civilization 7 officially announced. I am not a Civ guy, but there are obviously millions of people who love Civ. So
I love Civ. By the way. Somebody put it in the chat. Daisy. That's what
Daisy. Okay.
I love Civ, but as far as what I saw, that wasn't a real announcement. That's a Civ 7 is coming someday in your future.
It's just a 2025, and Sid Meier,
Yeah, but there wasn't even like a discussion of like what might be different, right? It's just Civ 7. Keep your pocketbook ready. 2025.
Yeah, what we need is Alpha Centauri to. I'm just glad Sid Meier was alive, so that was awesome to see. You got to take the little.
I am not willing to give them a crack at Alpha Centauri 2. Let that one sit as a perfect jewel.
It is great.
Perfect jewel. By the way, sorry, Dan. BR Spies in Hogue Chat says it's like the softest S you can say. So it's like Grease. Just say this at the end very lightly.
Quietly.
There it was. Kind of sexy.
Yeah. You're welcome. To Seed's point, Black Myth Wukong was next. I am extremely excited about this game. So this is August 20th. As you said, Seeds, I'm hoping it's polished. I'm hoping it shows really well in trailers, but sometimes we have seen many times that may not translate to the best game once you really get into it. They did clarify this is not a Souls-like. It's more of an ARPG, which is kind of cool. We got plenty of Souls-like. So the fact that they're going for more action here and kind of development sounds cool, but I'll definitely be checking this one out for sure.
Can I say, as a guy who is once again breaking on the rocks of Elden Ring, that one of the themes of this show week that I really enjoyed was so many people saying, we're not a Souls-like. We've designed our world that way, but we're an action game. We want you to actually fight these things, and we're not going to make you collect souls, and it's not going to be that level of difficulty. We might even have difficulty options. Like, that was a theme I saw from like 3 or 4 different game PR teams, and this was one of them. And that excites me as someone who is not good enough to progress in these games that I would otherwise like to explore.
Yes. I will talk about Phantom Blade Zero here shortly. Got some nice hands-on time with that, but anyway.
My main concern on Black Myth Wukong is the performance, and I know specifically for PlayStation they had their some of their engineers brought in to help in that last stage development of it. So I'm hoping that helped kind of polish it off. But that was my main concern going into it. So as long as they can clean that, I think it'll be pretty good.
Yeah, I remember when this got announced. What was it, a year and a half ago? It's been a while since it was first shown. It was quoted originally as a single developer, and then as they showed more of it, it was like, this is not a single developer, and kind of came out that they had a newer team on it. But they did announce, to your point about optimization, if this is an indication of that, Seeds, is that the Xbox version will not launch day and date with PC and PS5. It's actually going to come out slightly afterwards, because they're working on optimization right now to try and get the game ready for launch.
Yeah, I took a little bit of heat for putting it out, but I was told estimation was 6 months to a year from whenever I talked to the individual. They said that for the Series X, they believe that it was ready to go. It's optimization on the Series S, which anytime you say that, people lose their mind, get mad at you. But at the end of the day, like, the information came from a PlayStation engineer who had to come in and help to get it ready for the PlayStation. So there were also issues on the PlayStation. It wasn't just optimization for the Xbox. It was both. And so that's what they estimated was in that time frame, because they don't want to have it just drop for the X. They want to have it come out for both consoles, and that seems to be the issue.
Okay. Yeah, I guess we'll see. Either way, excited for it. Hope they can polish it up for launch. It feels, I'm getting the feeling, just my gut telling me this will be a game that'll play a lot better a year after launch. Like, fair. I'll probably buy it at launch, and then if it's not super well polished or they have some updates to do, maybe I'll go back to it a little later. And
I don't know, Travis, do you guys have a relationship with Game Science? To do review codes, or I'm not familiar with the actual developer and how they are affiliated with Western context to be able to allow us to see some of that. Do you know?
We do have contacts with them. I'm not plugged into them, so I think they probably will use a publisher for North American stuff, and then we'll just move through them. But I don't know what the relationship is. I do know we have a relationship with them, though.
Okay, that's good to know.
There.
By the way, quick shout out. We're over 300 concurrent hanging out with us right now. So welcome. Thank you for chilling with us. Please share it out if you're, the usual stuff, like, share, whatever, helps us out.
Tickle YouTube's buttons. It loves that.
Yeah. Click all the buttons. We appreciate it. So quite a few more things here. So like I said, as I went back through this the second time, I was like, maybe the show is a little higher than give it credit, because it's kind of, there's a lot of different things. But they did show Metaphor again. Metaphor is coming out October 11th. One of absolutely, just one of my most anticipated, just from the pure art style of this game. It just looks absolutely incredible. They did have the director, and I forget his name, I apologize, but they have two of the directors come out on stage. Jeff did, of Persona 3, 4, and 5, obviously working on Metaphor. And it just looks fantastic. So I'm super
great translator, by the way.
Yeah, he was really good, wasn't he?
That translator, yeah,
he was really good. Sadly, I tried to play this at SGF. This was booked literally through closing hours. I went to Sega on 2 different days, and people are all about this game. Yeah. So,
it's going to be great. Like, I love RPGs. I love JRPGs. Obviously, one of the reasons I'm really looking forward to Black Myth Wukong is that I like seeing different cultures take a stab at gaming, because you get all of these different kind of approaches.
Yep.
That what are you doing, Travis? You get all these different kind of approaches that don't like assume the same things as any given culture does, right? When we talk about the way that video games or anything else in media are made. So I think Black Myth Wukong is exciting, because I've never played a high budget Chinese made game before, and
Journey to the West, the game. Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. And I've played Journey to the West as envisioned by Ninja Theory, but that's not quite the same. And Metaphor, the Persona team, Shin Megami Tensei, all of those games have some of the best strategic RPG gameplay, and you add on the sass and the swagger of Persona 5, or what looks to be in Metaphor, and I think that's going to be a fantastic game at the end of the day. So, like, this particular section of the Summer Games Fest are things that I'm very much looking forward to this fall.
Yeah, hard agree. I just hope I have time for it, because this game's going to be another 100-hour, JRPG, and trying to.
Well, and in 3 years they'll release another 200-hour version. So I mean, like that is what they do. I'm actually this week playing. I know we didn't talk about what we're playing this week, but they released another copy of Shin Megami Tensei 5 called Vengeance, which is a great, I'm going to say little game. It's about 90 hours long, I think. It's a great little game. If you don't know, SMT is where Persona came from. Persona is a spinoff of that series. And so if you like Persona,
you should, like a spinoff of Persona.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? You should check out SMT 5 Vengeance if you're interested in those kinds of games. And you can't wait for Metaphor, because it's real good.
Yeah. I'll just wait for Metaphor Simile Edition 3 years later.
Yep. That's a great name for it. You should sell that to them.
I think I will.
So one of the both coolest announcements 30 seconds later that turned into one of the most depressing announcements, if you take the audience for what it was Batman Arkham Shadow, which is a VR only and Quest 3 exclusive title coming fall of this year. So there were rumors online I saw where it's like you could hear the groan in the crowd. I don't know about the whole crowd. I don't think I heard that, but I know Luke was sitting next to me and he is a huge Arkham and Batman fan, and it's open with Batman Arkham and then it said VR Quest 3 exclusive. He's like, so
well, tell Luke be open
Oh.
to more types of games, that old man. Because VR can be cool. I think there was some potential in the Batman VR experience we got that was kind of a tech demo years ago.
It was really good.
Yeah, it was good. It showed potential. I think it wasn't really a true game, but
no, it was like 55 minutes long, but it was really good.
Yeah, but I think you could get. I mean, look.
I did too.
But there you go.
Good.
That's
there
the
we
whole.
go.
That's the whole point.
Try it.
Yeah.
Do not.
Quest 3 is fabulous, but you do have to spend a fortune actually making it so. So keep a little bit of money for the things that they left out of the box that they shouldn't have.
I say, do not bite your thumb at the green eggs and ham, Luke, because sometimes it might be good. You never know. What
Shakespeare references from Mr. Tie Guy here?
No, I'm sorry. I didn't realize we weren't Shakespearean here.
We're talking about a Jeff Keighley show. You don't need Shakespeare references right now.
I honestly didn't even realize I made that reference. I was just saying.
It caught me off guard, that's for sure.
Okay.
A few more things to talk through on SGF here. So we got Delta Force Hawk Ops, which they were promoting a lot in play days. They were really trying to get people to play this game. It's an extraction multiplayer game. But then I think the more interesting thing, which kind of perked people up, right, is that they actually have license to recreate moments from the movie Black Hawk Down within a campaign kind of single player portion of Delta Force.
Yeah.
So kind of a really interesting approach to this game and what they're going to be offering as a total package. But I don't know, if that did anything for you guys, but it was interesting, if nothing else.
That's my jam.
There you
I'm
go.
not an MP guy.
Yeah.
I'm not an MP guy, you know that, but extraction is one of my favorite forms of multiplayer, so that's exciting.
I really like the two types. I like the Helldivers type game where it's PvE, and then I also like going into the Dark Zone in the Division. So I enjoy both. So I could see it. If they take that type of aspect. I don't know if you guys played 6 Days in Fallujah or not. The hyper realistic. I'm curious to see if they take that approach to this, or if it's a little, watered down, so to speak.
Arcadey.
Yeah, more arcadey, because I could go for either one, but I don't know that they will get a lot of buy-in if it's hyper realistic and moving through the city and stuff. But I'm definitely looking forward to checking this one out.
Because
I think so.
I think it'd be weird to be arcadey with this setting, since
That's true.
Such a I feel like you're the crowd you're appealing to are the people who want like a hyper realistic experience.
realistic.
It's a little slower. I think it's better. Also, if you go non-hyper realistic, then you have to compete with the extraction shooters that are like way more over the top, and I don't think you're going to win with a realistic setting, because there's versions where you're fighting aliens, and Bungie's working on a sci-fi one in Marathon, and I just think those guys eat your lunch. So
That's a
I
good
think
point.
there's room in this market for maybe like a hyper realistic, appealing to the people who want that military experience, like they're going into an actual op, because the way our military works in these things, it is kind of an extraction shooter IRL. So it kind of makes sense. You could see how they got to that format.
And not to interrupt you, Travis, but we've seen Gray Zone Warfare do really well right now. Space too.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah, make another breakpoint and we'll be good to go.
It's coming to console as well, so I believe
it
said
is?
It is.
It is. It's going to come to both. So it'll be interesting to see, because I can't, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know if we've had a very hyper realistic shooter come to console yet. Most of them have stayed on PC. I don't know that we've had I mean, Tarkov
Depends what you
is okay.
count. What do you count as a hyper-realistic shooter?
Like Ready or Not, the police win 6 Days in Fallujah. I don't think ever came.
Definitely not.
Those
I
kind
played
of
like Operation Flashpoint back in the day.
Flashpoint. Yeah, I think that's one maybe.
That was 360 era. Was that 360?
What was the
I think so. That's going back a ways.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I can't think of one that we've had that's like it. Happy to be wrong, but I can't think of one off the top of my head that's like
JB says Arma.
Did it?
It's Arma
Did
console.
it end up coming to console? Yeah, it might
did.
have.
Yeah,
I don't remember. So anyway, yeah, I mean, we'll see. They were pushing this one. I think I have some merch upstairs from this developer. They're really pushing this game, and they wanted people. I didn't have time to play it. I was running all over, but I hope it plays well. So we'll see. One of the coolest announcements, at least maybe I'm biased, but Blumhouse coming out on stage to talk about their Blumhouse Games project, which was pretty neat. And the way they're going about it, if you've missed this, was they're basically funding a bunch of smaller studios to make basically smaller kind of independent size horror games. So they actually announced 6 games in a row, all different kind of styles, different developers. And they the first one that's coming out is called Fear the Spotlight, which I actually got to play on Monday before I left. I got the last appointment, funny enough. They were shutting down the booth, and they're like, you can run through it. So this is being made
because of you. They're like, Ains is
probably.
Here. Shut it
You're
down.
probably right. It's being made by a husband and wife development team. And if you haven't seen this one, this is the one. It kind of looks like a PlayStation 1 3D third-person action horror game, excuse me. And the demo that I played, you're basically you're using a Ouija board with a friend. All hell breaks loose, and you're in a school library that's abandoned. And even though it's kind of that old graphical PlayStation 1 style, very light poly, right, low poly count type thing, it was actually really well done because of the way the camera is, kind of looking at.
You know what it reminded me of? Have you guys ever seen Mythic Quest, the show?
Yeah, love Mythic Quest.
Yeah, you know that one episode, the one off in the first season, the Dark Quiet Death. That fake game that couple makes. It kind of reminded me of that game, like in real life. It was like, because it was made by a husband and wife, right? Just like in the episode. It's like that's a hilarious. PS1 era, like flashlight horror game. I was like, dude, they're just making that game for Mythic Quest. It's kind of
pretty funny if that's what inspired them. Yeah, because that's a few years ago now. But
I hope that's not what inspired them, because it didn't turn out well for that couple. I don't know if you guys remember that episode. That was kind of a sad episode of that show, but I love that episode.
But this is a cool announcement. I really like this. I like, obviously I love horror games, and I think their approach of, instead of just trying to fund some $200 million big budget horror game, right? Like let's try experiment a little bit, see what kind of hits, have some of these smaller experiences. So I think
that's literally the Blumhouse financial model, right? Let's fund a lot of small stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, I will say I am not enthusiastic about Hollywood studios getting more involved in the creation of games. I think usually that is kind of a disaster, and they don't really understand the space. But those games looked great, and Annapurna is the other example we have of a Hollywood studio making games, and their games are
fantastic
great.
At it.
Yep.
Yeah, they're amazing at it. So I'm happy to be proven wrong in both cases. But in general, am I enthused about Hollywood's like effect or attempt to kind of influence this unique thing we've got going in games? No, but they keep proving me wrong. So maybe I'm just being overly protective.
I mean, like Disney was pushing out Star Wars early?
No, not like that. The idea that like video games are trying to like chase after Hollywood and parrot what they do and make their games feel like movies and have the same plot beats and long cut scenes and that sort of stuff. I feel like I like some of that stuff, but I feel like oftentimes it leads to bad games with good movies wrapped around them, which is not an effect I'm super stoked on.
We're not talking about Kojima today, Travis. Come on.
I think the optimist, though, could say that game developers are tending towards that themselves, and that movie studios might actually be an opposite effect, which they say we have a movie division. We don't want that from you. We want a game, right? One of my favorites that I don't know that I've mentioned in this space, I think I might have, from Annapurna, is I've been playing through Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, and I love it. It's one of my favorite games.
You have talked about it. Yeah.
Okay. It is anti-movie. It is pure game from start to finish, and I highly recommend it. One of the announcements that was made here from Blumhouse is that they're funding Sam Barlow's next initiative. And if you don't know him, he's the guy behind Immortality, which was my game of the year 2 years ago. And that's very exciting because he's working with Cronenberg's son, I can't remember his name, on this new project. And I think it's going to be fantastic because almost everything he does is fantastic. He made Her Story, and then he made one that I didn't like as much, and then he made Immortality. But I think it's very exciting to see somebody looking at that kind of output and saying that's something that we want to fund. We want to put more of that out there. We want that to be bigger because Immortality was fantastic. I highly recommend it. A lot of people don't think it's a video game. Reasonable minds can differ as to whether you find it to be a game, but it's a very effective way of telling a story.
Was that
and so I highly recommend it.
Was that the game that Corey's wife did from Santa Monica? The Immortality, was that her game?
I don't think so. I don't know though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think
it's made by Sam Barlow. Sam Barlow is, like I said, Her Story. He did Silent Hill Shattered Memories before that, when he was working for companies. But he's one of my favorite kind of auteur game directors now. And Immortality is primarily film clips. It's another Her Story kind of sifting through film clips type story, but it's excellent.
Yeah,
so
it engages the main actress in it, and you kind of the timeline, right? You have to kind of piece together what happened when, and
weird game.
Was that 2 years ago? Was that 2022?
It was.
Yes, it was before my medical incident.
Good Lord, time disappears. All right.
Some will say he caused it. We don't know. We don't have
yes, my love of immortality put me in the hospital. What can I say?
Yeah. Ironically, your love of immortality proved your mortality.
That's true.
Yeah.
I think I have mentioned it in this space before, though. The cast of Immortality sent me a video with me in the ICU.
Yes, you did.
Wishing me well. So
awesome.
I'll always love them.
Yeah.
I mean, was it creepy? Did you look for like alternate clips within that clip hidden that you could find? Were there moments where you felt like vibration during the video that maybe there was another clip behind that you could find?
I was on a heart monitor at the time, so the answer to that is probably yes.
So you completely missed the secret that they were actually trying to tell you.
I'll tell you what they didn't send him was any Cracker Barrel stuff. You know, they're not that cool.
I did get a box of Cracker Barrel stuff from somebody. I can't remember who.
So we also got, for those who love the old school beat 'em ups made by Digital Eclipse, you got Power Rangers is Rita's Rewind is the next entry in their, kind of old school beat 'em ups, like I said. So they did not Cowabunga Collection, right? They did
Shredder's Revenge.
Thank you. Yes. TMNT. So, the Power Rangers fans in the crowd, including Luke, were going nuts. I was like, okay, cool. I missed.
I want to see Luke going nuts for the return of Rita.
He was. I should have filmed him. He was going nuts for this game. It is 100% true. We got a new trailer for Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, which we've talked about. Another one of my very highly anticipated games.
Very different tone than the first one.
Was. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they were showing more the kind of where the story may go a little bit, right?
It was a little goofy and a little like Hollywood, which was surprising because I remember the first one was like intentionally obtuse and kind of boring in a non-cinematic way, which was kind of its appeal. So I looked at this and I was like, well, that looks cool, but it kind of feels like it lost its identity a little bit in terms of, I'm sure it'll probably play the same, but that trailer was a little odd.
Well, I think they had
a number of odd trailers this week.
Yeah, because remember KCD, right? The first one, it tells a good story. It is very down to earth in how you play it, but it does have missions that are comical, right? It's got a lot of funny parts in it. So I'm wondering if they're trying to kind of let people know, hey, this isn't just a serious medieval game. It has characters and humor.
You'll be throwing poop at somebody's house at some point.
Yeah.
You guys remember
that? We got Slitterhead, which is the is it Bokeh Studio out of Japan that's doing kind of the traditional Japanese horror. We got a release date for that, November 8th. So it's another kind of creepy game coming out later this year. Then we got Dan's game of the show. Killer Bean, my friend.
Let's do it.
Killer Bean is coming.
I don't know what to say about this.
I don't think anyone knew what to say about it. Sorry,
took
Dan.
you by surprise. It's Hitman and Bean put together with some cool John Wick actiony kind of stuff. Yeah, I don't play.
I
indie
watched
games.
this trailer
I'm gonna play
after
this.
Dan said he was excited about Killer Bean, and I watched the whole thing, and I said, "This is Dan's bang on balls."
Yes,
Oof.
yes, it might
Is
be.
that good
No,
already?
This one you actually be able to do stuff, and actually probably accomplish something. As opposed
No, it's
to
the game
bang on
where a
balls.
Bitcast member inexplicably likes it, has everybody else play it, and then they're like, "That's good, bro."
Yeah, no, I
That's
would
like
never.
all the games you like, Hogue.
I know it is. I know it
That's
is.
true.
Yeah.
It looks like a
Asante-
McNugget. Maybe that's
yeah,
what it is
Asante
for
says,
me.
"Does
I'm
he
a
really
big-
look like a bean?" No.
Right?
But
Yeah, no.
To me,
I thought it was a
before I saw
goldfish.
the title, I thought it was Pepe the Frog. I was like, "Is this a Pepe shooter? Like, this is kind of weird." You guys know what I'm talking about?
I know what
Kinda
you're
looks
talking
like-
about.
He kind of
Yes.
looks like him, but yeah, he's orange bean. Okay, didn't know that.
Early access is supposedly later this summer coming for this game, so we'll see how this one turns out.
Perfect.
We got the next game from the Stanley Parable developer, who I know Travis and Hogue, you've I actually still haven't played that game, but I know you guys
Stanley
rave about
Parable
it.
is
Really?
fantastic,
Wow.
and Stanley
Yeah.
Parable 2 is even better. And I know there is no Stanley Parable 2.
There is.
But it is it's deluxe or super deluxe or something.
There is a Stanley Parable too. They just couldn't market it that way for meta reasons.
That's true. I highly recommend it.
Wanderstop is the new game from that development team. Is coming later this year. Looks to have a very different type of tone, but looks like they ended with kind of setting it up for some type of weird twist. So we'll see where that game goes. First Descendant. So I can talk about this one a little bit. So if you don't know this game, this is coming out from a group at Nexon. It comes out, the release date is July 2nd. So it comes out in a few weeks. This is a game that very, very much wears its Destiny / Anthem vibe on its sleeve. That's what they're going for. I did do a 30-minute demo of this with the development team. Plays well, plays smooth. It kind of, the map and everything, the structure of the game is very Destiny-ish. You kind of take on individual missions. The big thing with this game, the reason I said Anthem, is that the goal is to have larger areas where you take on kind of these gigantic sized bosses essentially and team up to kind of take them down. So I didn't get to play one of those. I played kind of two of the smaller confined missions, but we're going to be doing a preview of this. We have access to it next week. The embargo is actually the following week. So look for a preview of this from us after, I think, June 26th. But I did enjoy what I played of it so far. So
I
like
played the beta for this a while ago, and I thought it was okay. I have some concerns about it, or at least I had concerns, but this was a while ago, and it'll be even longer before the game actually comes out. So they definitely have time to develop it. But this is definitely like in my beat. So there's a good chance I'll be reviewing this one. It is made by Nexon, which I believe is the Korean conglomerate that made
it is.
They published Dave the Diver. So they have a fairly good track record. No, I think it was developed by Mint Rocket, right? I think they published
which is an internal division of Nexon.
Got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
they have a bunch of those. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think they have a pretty good track record with the quality of their games, but this is an extremely difficult type of game to make in a pretty competitive space, and you have to have legs for a live service development. EA couldn't do it with Anthem. Lots of companies fail with their projects, so I think this is an altogether different undertaking, and then it also has the disadvantage of I think it's being supported on Switch, which is like kind of a weird,
and Xbox One and PS4.
Yeah, so I have questions about this game and like how it's going to work or if it's going to work. I'm pretty skeptical at this point, but definitely one to watch.
Yeah. I agree with Travis on the risk assessment here. I do think Nexon, that the giant conglomerate companies, are probably the best chance of success for taking on that level of risk. It's actually a miracle that Bungie managed to survive with it for 10 years. And speaking of Destiny, as you were, Ains, I do think we have to mention that the final shape came out this last week. I know we're not supposed to talk about what we're playing, but Travis has a great review of it. The final expansion of the Light and Dark Saga on IGN. I know you mentioned it. But as someone that left Destiny, that is a lapsed Destiny player since Witch Queen, I have not had more fun or been happier in the Destiny universe since basically the alpha of the original game. So if you ever liked Destiny, Final Shape is where it's at. They really nailed it.
Nice.
Great. Yeah, I think First Descent, their main. I mean, I love looter shooters. I enjoy live service games, so I'm right there, kind of with you guys.
Nice.
The gameplay loop is one of my concerns on. Can they nail that? Can you keep me engaged to continue to grind? And then it's free to play, and so what are going to be some of the things that they put in there to make money? I haven't seen them say it's going to be, have the gotcha, whatever you want to refer to it as. I haven't seen that. I just, if you are going to sell something, let me be able to grind for it. And so I think that if they can do that and they don't have those types of, service offerings, I'm intrigued by, but I agree with Travis. When you tell me that it's coming to some of those older platforms, it that concerns me on, how's the performance going to be overall. So those are my two kind of concerns to see how they play out.
Yeah, I mean, I worry about my vault sizes and things when you start to bring in the really old systems.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. So the missions I played, the one thing that was kind of curious was there were a lot of things dropping. So a lot of guns, a lot of loot, a lot of materials. And when you start to talk about free to play, to your point, Seeds, when I start to see a lot of materials, I do get a little worried because it's like, all right, what's this economization look like within the game? So like I said, we do have I was given a key to preview it because I'll be playing Shadow of the Erd Tree, which is a shocker to everyone, I'm sure, this next week.
Really?
Steve is going to be covering that for us. So stay tuned. We should have a preview of First Descendant with a full week's of coverage up on the 26th, 27th prior to launch. So we'll know more really soon. But I will tell you, I played on Series X. So I did play on console, not like a highly optimized PC, because they had PC, Series X, and PS5 all set up. And I played on Series X and it was super smooth. I had no issues. It was, it felt 60 frames, no chugging or performance issues that I could note. I did do the open world spot. I did do confined combat with a bunch of enemies on screen. And one interesting thing too of the mission I played, there was platforming. So it was like skillful kind of platforming through this 3D level too. So we'll see, more to come. But the one thing to be aware of here, which I noticed because we got it like a 12-minute or so preview prior to playing from the producer, a pre-recorded video, it's character based. So it's not where you're going to create your own dude, right? And then RPG mechanic it. There are set named characters that have play styles that you will select from. And I think there are, I'm going to forget the number. We'll have it in our preview. I want to say there's like 18 or something. There's quite a few at launch, but they're going to keep expanding that over time.
Which is
of course they are. Gotcha.
Which of course is where you're going to spend the money, right? And customization. But it is different from, say, creating your own character and just building that. So just be aware of that going into it. Yeah,
that makes sense. That is the gotcha mechanic that we have seen in the fantasy RPG side of things.
Genshin Impact.
Yeah. So we got that. One of the other kind of most interesting announcements during SGF was Outer Sloth, which of course was from Inner Sloth, who made Among Us. So they announced this project called Outer Sloth, where they are basically taking some of the money that they've made from Among Us, which apparently made a whole shit ton of money. And they're going to start helping fund indie games out of small developers. So they have 5 games that they're currently helping fund to develop. And they are basically kind of going to be working in that in the future. And they then took those kind of short teasers for those 5 games. And then they ended by showing us they're making an Among Us movie with some rather big names, shockingly, because I don't know what an Among Us movie looks like, if I'm being honest, but here we are. So kind of an interesting announcement to see, them on stage and kind of doing this. But I do like the approach, of course, of seeing developers support other developers. They had this huge hit that I think was unexpected. It was going to be as big as it was. And now they're helping other studios kind of get stood up. So love to see it.
I certainly understand the impulse from them to want to see other games that they favor. I think whenever you see publishers in the indie game space, to me, it's a kind of curation aspect. That is what I look for. We talked about Annapurna before, but there are publishers in the indie space that I say, if you funded them, then you have the same kind of mindset for what you're looking for as I do. And I don't know that about them yet, but I'm always excited to see more indie games.
Yeah. Couple more and we'll close out SGF. So Dune Awakening is a survival MMO coming, obviously looking to capitalize on the Dune kind of popularity at the moment, if you will. So we'll see how well that's implemented. A survival MMO, again, we were talking about some games where it's like you're playing in a space that can be really tough to kind of get a foothold. So we'll see.
Game, I saw that game at the GDC, and it looks amazing. I think that game's gonna be real good.
Good.
So.
Yeah, Travis was trying to convince me on an earlier episode of the Bitcast because I wasn't positive about running around Arrakis for a whole game.
Neither was I, but you see the demo and you're like, damn, they really thought this through. The idea of like, oh, I'm just going to run around an empty desert with nothing on it. That's like part of the world building is the obvious, like, how are they going to pull that off? But then you realize it's kind of perfect for a survival game, but I digress. That game, I'm pretty confident that game is going to be really good.
Okay, cool. We got the new trailer for Skate. Obviously, franchise IP being brought back. The one thing that I think kind of threw me for a little bit of a loop, and one of the creative directors was at SGF Play Days. I didn't get a chance to talk to him, but they were promoting this. Was the art style of the game has definitely shifted a bit, right? A little more kind of cartoony looking than realistic. And then it's really kind of an open park multiplayer game. So you can kind of just go into this world and skate with your friends, if you will, while also creating your own spaces to skate in. So we'll see how this one turns out. I don't know. I don't know your guys' thoughts. If you were into the old Tony Hawks, the old skates, is this really what people want out of a new Skate? Because it seems a little bit counter to what the old games used to be, where you kind of do your own thing in different parks and do challenges and stuff. This is more of a shared experience, kind of co-op multiplayer type thing.
These were never my favorite, right? Like I know a lot of people liked them. I would go in for a couple levels and do the little jumps and get the little what are they, VHS tapes that you'd have to grab
on Tony Hawk. Yeah,
that's Tony Hawk.
And that was it. As for Skate was the attempt to combat Tony Hawk, and my recollection of it was liking it less at the time.
Yeah, I like Tony Hawk better personally, but
all the people I know who are like skater folk, I have some of those in my friends circle, really enjoy Skate.
I forget you're like 19. My fault.
Okay. You guys. I'm just cool, okay? I have cool friends. Some of them have sleeves.
You do look like a skater.
Okay. No, not me. No. I'm all about
like a scooter guy.
I'm all about practicality with my travel. So I'm not. You never see me on a skateboard. Maybe when I was a teenager. But yeah, all the people I know who are like legit into skating prefer Skate because it's, I guess, closer to a realistic experience. So I don't know if they're gonna care if it's multiplayer or not. I think maybe multiplayer might end up being a draw for them. And I don't know if they'll care about art style either, but I think what they care about is like authenticity of like you being able to take a pastime you like, and when you're down because of an injury because of the SF street bomb or whatever, you can play this game that still lets you kind of live in that space. So I think there's potential for this to catch on. I don't know the popularity of skateboarding right now relative to gamers, but seems like there's probably overlap there. I don't know. Well, this is probably a bad group because I'm the youngest guy here, and even I'm like,
we are not the skater group.
I'm pretty detached from that world, but I do know it exists, and I could see this getting a foothold there. I just don't know if it'll be like hugely profitable or what have you.
I like Tony Hawk, but I also like did you guys ever play the Matt Hoffman BMX? I think it was Matt Hoffman's BMX.
Briefly, yeah.
I like that game, I think, more than I did the Tony Hawks. Like, just with the pegs and the bikes and stuff like that. But I don't get into the skate stuff anymore.
Yeah. Those BMX games got popular for a
They
while.
did.
They had their moment.
Yeah.
Last couple
these
things.
games, and I'm sorry, Ains.
No, you're good.
Continue on. I was gonna say I think of these games, and I think like Roller Drome was my favorite of the most recent games where you're jumping up and doing things, and that one you get to shoot people at the same time, so that's a better experience for me.
Yeah.
So I will. It's just funny because you're clearly not the target audience, but I will say that the guy who I was talking about, who specifically loves skate, also played Roller Drome. I previewed that game, and he came into the room and saw me playing it and was like, "Oh, dude, like this is a kind of a skating game." And he did he did like it, but he was like, "Man, everything shooting at me is really getting in the way of me like doing tricks." And I was just like, it made me laugh. I was just like, "All right, dude, like, yeah, I get you're just it's very different players." So
yeah, no, I will fully admit that I am not the target audience for skate.
They announced Valorant on console. There is a closed beta going for this right now. We do have someone in SG playing. I played my first match last night and then quickly turned it off. It's not a game for me.
It, huh?
No.
Wow.
I was like, this just no, it's not my type of game. But that's fine. I mean, I know lots of people love it. So
it's a first-person competitive shooter, Ains, isn't it? Exactly your type of game.
No, yeah, but it's a 5v5 team-based squad type. Like it's more Overwatchy than like
Halo has teams.
Halo has teams. It does.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. 5v5. We said 5v5. Like that was the reason you didn't like it.
Well,
I think it's more about
it's more ability team-based, right? It's more Overwatchy than say like shooter. You know what I mean?
The hero shooter garbage.
Is Valorant a hero shooter? I have not played it.
It is a hero shooter, but I would say the biggest difference between Halo isn't the fact that it's a hero shooter, because you kind of do have, abilities in Halo, and there's some overlap, but I think the biggest thing is the time to kill, right? Like in Halo, if somebody shoots you and you're good enough, you can turn around and kill them first. Valorant's kind of not that game, right? It's one where like if somebody sees you and they've got real good Twitch shooting skills, they'll just pop you dead in a second. So I think that's
Counter-Strike.
Yeah, it feels like arcadey Counter-Strike or arcadey what's the other one? Siege kind of type thing.
Yeah.
It's interesting. But anyway, there's a closed beta on console. That was an announcement.
I tell you what, Final Shape convinced me to be excited about Concord. Like I want to give Concord a try because I was reminded playing Final Shape about how good the gunplay is in Destiny. And I know there are a couple of Bungie folks on Concord, right? So I'm at least willing to give it a try after Final Shape, which was not my expected outcome.
I'm willing to give Concord a try too. Yeah. Go ahead.
Josh, I can't remember his last name. He's the main guy, one of the devs over on Concord. He came from D2, and I'm pretty sure one of his main focuses over there was the gunplay.
Nice.
On
it's
Destiny.
So good in Destiny. It's top.
It is.
When you saw the hand cannons pop on Concord, Concord's not my type of game. I'll play it just to check it out, but it's not my type of game. But I could definitely see the gunplay in there being a draw, especially when seeing the pop of the hand cannons.
Yeah,
I was like, that's got Destiny written all over it in that. So, yeah.
Well, I was very negative on the reveal of Concord, and I am at least willing to give it a try now because of Final Shape, a game made by a different company. So hey,
we then got we got another trailer for Monster Hunter Wilds. Excuse me. I did get to sit in. They weren't doing hands-on of this yet, but I did get to sit in with Capcom on the demo. So they did a full mission, a full hunt, if you will, demo for us. From talking to the guys at SG who know Monster Hunter way better than I do. I'm not a big Monster Hunter fan, but I was intrigued by this. It definitely feels more, the world is twice the size of Monster Hunter World. Sorry. Yeah, they gave us some details. Yeah, so twice the size. It's also seamless now. So like if you're in camp, you can just ride out into the world. You don't have to do the teleporting emissions. So it played really well from what I saw. But they're not doing hands-on yet. So
weather changes too, right? In this one,
full time of day and weather system. Yep, dynamic. And the weather can actually affect things as you're fighting. Like like a storm came in, and then other animals came in or creatures, whatever you want to say, and it was neat.
Monsters, Ains. They're monsters.
I'm not the biggest Monster Hunter fan, but I do pop in from time to time, and Worlds was the last time I really enjoyed it. This one is going to make a fortune, right? It doesn't matter what we say about it. It's going to make a fortune for Capcom. And I'm definitely going to give it a try, but I will not be surprised if I bounce off it a little bit again.
I have tried to get into Monster Hunter. I've told this story before, but several times now. I have not been able to. Elu is in the chat, our awesome editor at SG. He is a diehard Monster Hunter fan, and I have promised him, I made a bet, which I already regret, that I will play Monster Hunter Wilds with him when it launches. So I'm going to try my best to play with a group to get into it and see how we do.
That doesn't sound like a bet, by the way.
It's not a bet. It was more of a promise that I regret. Yeah.
Did they give a launch date on that one? I don't
they have not. Just next year. Okay. Just next year.
I do think it's going to be later in the year, and I think this is kind of the big fall game that everybody moves out of the way of, because a Monster Hunter World specifically, and this is a direct kind of sequel to World.
This is the next big one.
I think that has more clout than just about anything. I mean, that's why the Game Awards last year ended with it, right? They were the headliner.
It's a huge IP.
It's going to be huge IP. Yeah. I will say I'm kind of with Ains in that I've dabbled in Monster Hunter over the years, and I kind of fall off because it's quite grindy. There's just like a lot of plant collecting you've got to do. But Monster Hunter World is kind of the exception to that. Monster Hunter World did bite me pretty hard, and I played a lot of it. So I think
Can you please pluralize World, because it's not a Disney theme park.
No. Yeah, but I'm very
Wait, it's Monster Hunter World. This is Monster Hunter Wilds.
I thought it was Worlds.
Well, I don't think so. It's
I'm
World and Wilds, I think.
Then it is a Disney theme park.
Next year's going to be really interesting.
My understanding is that there's only one world in Monster Hunter, but I'm not a Monster Hunter lore guy. But yeah, I think that
I know
this has the opportunity to be kind of the big breakthrough game, because I think at the time World happened, Monster Hunter as a franchise was still kind of niche, even in the game space, and that was like a little bit of a breakout. But now it's no longer niche, so this has an opportunity to be kind of like The Witcher 3.
This could be Capcom's Elden Ring.
Yeah, something like that. So I could see them really breaking through with this, and I hope it does, because World had a lot of potential. I think there were things to it, especially at launch, that I was like, it still has a little bit of roughness around the edges, but I expect Wilds to be insane.
I think next year is going to be very interesting, from a strategic business point of when you release your game, because I mean, Grand Theft Auto 6, if they hit that date, if they're saying fall of next year, like that's a behemoth that a lot of people are going to sink a lot of time into. So, and then you got Monster Hunter Wild. So I think it's going to be next year's going to be very interesting in that second half window, or second half window of the year, of how these games release, like how they stagger it out to try to avoid some of these really behemoth games that we know are coming. So that was one of the things I was thinking about, like during Summer Game Fest and during some of these shows is, like, wow, how are they going to, how are some of these companies going to work around this? Next year.
We got some big ones from Xbox too, which we're going to get to obviously shortly for next year.
For sure.
Just to close out, we'll close on Summer Game Fest with Phantom Blade Zero, which they closed out on. So this is from S Game, Japanese studio. So I had a great time playing this. I put a preview up on it earlier this week. I sat down, they were super nice at the booth, and I had a developer named Bob, who I'm going to shout out because he was very, very cool.
Thanks, Bob.
Yeah. Yes, he was awesome. And he sat with me on the couch and we just vegged, and he kind of walked me through it. Now, the interesting thing about this was I play inverted because I'm old, and that's how you play. You could not invert the controls in the demo that they had set up. So I had to kind of just make do and kind of grind my way through. But essentially what it was a demo of a small level, and then you got to fight 3 different bosses. And the first thing, to Hoag's earlier point, which he called out, this is not a Souls-like. It looks like a Souls-like on video. It is not. This is much more the kind of Devil May Cry type action combo game than a Souls-like. There's a couple kind of key differences, right? Enemies do not respawn. So I died on one of the bosses. and I was able to run through the level straight back to the boss to fight him again. There are some really kind of the game is designed for you to combo into attacks, and it becomes very flashy. And it's a lot of fun. I had a great time playing this. You can check out my preview on the site. Shout out to S Game. They were super accommodating. Some of the nicest people I met the whole trip. So that was a really good one. I left very excited about that game. It's really fun to play. It's already very polished. I did ask them what they're targeting in terms of release dates or things. They said they're not talking about it just yet. So I think it's still a little ways out. But even in the current state, it felt really fun to play.
Do you feel Stellar Blade in the combat?
I have not played Stellar Blade.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of setting up those, combos and stuff and hitting those devastating attacks. So when I was watching that, I kind of got that vibe. Combat-wise.
So how it works, you have 2 main weapons and 2 alternates. And the main weapons, when you swap between them mid-combo, and the weapon swap itself is an action. It is an attack, right? So basically what you're doing, you're attacking the build, you swap with your other weapon, which, comes into another thing, and then as you build your ultimate, you can combo into your ultimate as well. And then there are parries and there are dodges, both of which are timed, and if you time them correctly, that leads you into like a counter, which you can combo into as well. So it's very it wants you to be aggressive. It's not like a Souls where you're playing kind of slow and methodical, right? It wants you to be aggressive, take the attack to them, and it's very fast paced, but great fun.
It really shows fun. Really well.
Yeah, and it's pretty already. Like it was cool to play. They said it will have branching levels, kind of bigger levels. Kind of Souls design is where they said the levels kind of come in. Because I asked them, I said, is it more like Neo where it's like a set level, scattered around, or is it more like Souls where they branch? He said more like Souls. So there's branching paths, hidden things you can find and discover, etc. And then the boss battles that I thought were interesting. They had some environmental stuff you could do when fighting the last boss I fought, but it's good fun.
Is the pathway to objectives linear or more open?
A little more. It was linear in the demo I played, but according to what they told me, it's going to be a little more open. Okay. So you can kind of like do things in the order you see fit or discover, etc. So
cool.
Yeah, it's fun. All right. So that was Season Game Fest. I did that like a couple weeks ago. Summer Game Fest. Anything else on SGF you'd like to mention before we jump over to Xbox?
No, I mean, you skipped Night Springs, but I talked about it earlier. So
yes, I did. Yeah, so that's out now. You can check that out. Yeah, which I need to do. I still haven't finished Alan Wake 2. I don't want to say that out loud, but I have.
What is wrong with you? Stop playing Erdtree and Elden Ring 6 times.
That's not going to happen. So I'll touch on that here in a little bit. All right, so let's catch up on a couple late super chats. So I was kind of trying to save super chats between shows here, so we're not constantly stopping. Dan, hit us up. We got Debbie W in the house.
Debbie W with a $10 super chat. I replayed Age of Mythology a few weeks ago. Super excited to see the changes in Reborn. I hope they fix some of the temperamental issues in the middle of the Egypt campaign.
It's a game I didn't touch on, but was shown. Yeah, it was shown at Summer Game Fest too. So, yeah. Now I'm not familiar with the IP, so excuse me. But is that more? Is it an RTS or is it more of kind of an action squad type thing?
It's an RTS. It's pure. Okay. It's an Age of Empires game. It's just with gods and magic.
Oh, okay, perfect. Yeah, sorry. Awesome. Thank you, Debbie.
Yeah, and it is retold. And I only remember that because it was one of my favorite remake names. I always like when they have to figure out what they're going to call their remake. So it's Age of Mythology Retold. Because it's
and funny enough, yeah, Debbie, I didn't see it until now, Dan. Yep, Debbie had another one. Retold.
Yeah, Age of Mythology Retold, not Reborn. Thanks, Brain. Also, I didn't know I was waiting for Doom Diablo, but looking forward to that one too.
We'll talk.
Demons got to die in any number of ways. That's what gaming has taught us.
That's right. Debbie, thank you as always for the support, and I hope the game turns out well for you. And then we got Kay Sante in the house.
Yeah, with the $10. First Sunday in a while, I've been able to just chill at home, watch some podcasts live. Sunday is usually the family fun day. Happy Father's Day, gentlemen.
Happy Father's Day.
Salute, Asante. So shout out to Asante. So he is one of the gentlemen I met for the first time in person out in LA. One of absolutely spectacular getting to chat with him and hang out with him. Super sharp guy, very tech savvy and focused. So if you don't check out Gaming Circle podcast, they are live on Saturdays. They were live yesterday. Just a fantastic human being. Seriously. So shout out to Asante. And yeah, we're going to have him back over here again in the near future. So happy Father's Day, my friend. All right. So let's jump over to the Xbox showcase. So kind of opened with what everyone in the world expected to open with, Call of Duty. That's the elephant in the room. Phil Spencer gets on. Well, Phil Spencer gets on. They kind of opened. He set the stage by saying, this is the show that's going to show all of their first party now, which obviously Activision, Blizzard, Bethesda, Xbox Game Studios, and of course he had to mention Call of Duty Black Ops 6 and Game Pass right out of the gate. Get the out of there. So we'll talk a little more because they had the Call of Duty Black Ops. They bookcased it, right? So, or bookended it. So they have the direct at the end where they did the 25-minute deep dive. But the game they actually opened the show with was Doom: The Dark Ages, which sadly leaked obviously ahead of the show. But it was very cool to see gameplay. I said before, I am very interested in this. I love Doom, going back to more of a hardcore Doom rather from Eternal. We had this conversation a couple weeks ago, and that's exactly what we saw, I think, right? So from
it looks zippy.
Yeah.
Chainsaw Shield is a win.
Big time. So this looks fantastic. Super pumped about this one.
Shout out to former IGNer James Duggan, who is working on this game. I talked to him about it after the trailer went live. Looks really fun. These games are cool.
Looks
fantastic. Well, I mean, that kind of dark castle-y vibe works really well for Doom. I didn't know how it would look, but it looks really good. And I like the super chat that called it Diablo Doom because that is the vibe it gives off.
Yeah, which is a win in my book. So, yeah,
Diablo 4. Check it out, folks. It's fantastic now.
It is. It's really good. Then, kind of interestingly, and Hogue, pace yourself here. We got a look. Right. We got the cinematic trailer of Dragon Age Veilguard.
Oh, perhaps the worst marketing trailer in video game history.
I said pace yourself, sir.
That is me pacing myself, Ains.
Which, in my opinion, is a worse name than Dreadwolf. At least
it is.
Saying out loud. But we later in the week, I don't feel like the trailer hit too well with people, which is why I think they were quick to start showing more of the game and gameplay and kind of the BioWariness of what the game is like to play. So, Hogue, I'll obviously pass to you first, being passionate about Dragon Age, as I think all of us are, but you especially so. And I think yesterday, as I was sending you some more of the clips they were showing, some more of the combat, etc., you said you remain unconvinced.
I did say that in our chat. Yes. So the trailer is awful, right? So the trailer is ostensibly about introducing the companions, and they do it with like what I will call the Borderlands name card cartoon style. And for everybody that's been waiting to see what Dragon Age was going to be for like 10 years, it's probably the worst kind of convince you that we're on the right track type of marketing, which is why I do think they released gameplay. Was it the next day? Yes. Where they had like an 18-minute walkthrough? And I think the game looks better than that trailer. I will stand with that. The game looks better than that trailer indicated. But the art style is very cartoony now. It is very kind of vibrantly colored, which are not things that I necessarily hate, but it isn't something that fits with kind of what I would describe as the heavy metal gore feeling of Dragon Age 1 and to some extent 2. Now, somebody will rightly tell me that 2 and Inquisition don't follow the graphic style of Dragon Age Origins, but Dragon Age Origins is the best the series has ever been, and so I guess I had hoped for them to move more towards that direction rather than kind of what I've seen the internet describe as Fortnite-ification, which I don't think is fair. But it is certainly more cartoony, and the purple is very vibrant. It looks a little bit like a nighttime shot of Vegas in places. So I remain unconvinced because even the gameplay shows kind of that press X to awesome type of approach that Dragon Age 2 introduced more than what I want out of my RPGs, right? I want my Baldur's Gate. I want my Shin Megami Tensei. I want my thinking strategic combat in my RPG video games, and I don't think they're going to do that. But Dragon Age, like any other RPG, is going to live and die by its characterization and its story. And that was never going to be shown to us in a trailer or even in an 18-minute gameplay preview. So I will hold out hope that it isn't a bad story, but I don't know that BioWare coming off of Anthem and Electronic Arts coming off of nothing is the right company to convince me to be excited about that product.
Electronic Arts coming off of nothing.
Tell me where EA is.
It's just funny. Yeah, so
they made a pretty good Star Wars game recently.
Did they?
Yeah.
Well, Survivor.
You're talking about Survivor?
They published it.
I mean, they made it. Respawn's theirs, but
yeah,
that's true.
Survivor didn't connect with me very well. We'll talk more about Star Wars later in the show.
What was the release date they gave on this one?
They have not.
It is.
There's no date.
2024.
2024. Yeah.
Later this year, but no date. Yeah.
That surprised me. Seeing 2024 really surprised me. I hope that they, based off of what I saw in the gameplay trailer, I do hope that they push it back and continue to polish it. I mean, I love the Dragon Age series, but I'm with Hogue. I remain skeptical. And when I saw that 2024 date, I was like, give it some more time because I want to see more of it. But what I did see, I didn't think it looked as good as I had hoped.
Yeah, I think this game's troubled development is no secret, right?
Yeah.
Like we know they've had issues with this. The last minute name change is probably not like a good sign, right? The fact that we thought we were getting something and we're getting something else. Maybe Dreadwolf remains in development. This is just a separate story. I'm not really sure. But
this is Dreadwolf. Like they were very clear about this is the Dreadwolf project.
Dreadwolf.
Yeah, it is this. It is a continuation of the story with what's his name?
Solus.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm interested to see. I will say the general reaction from the people in my life who like Dragon Age and are not really close to the industry was positive, both to the story trailer and the gameplay trailer. Like they were like, oh, it's cool. It's Dragon Age. It's fantasy. We're doing a heist kind of thing. And we've got, pretty colors. And there was just a lot more positivity among the casual non-industry insiders in my life. And then on Twitter and with everybody who is an industry insider, it was just a whole bunch of hoax being negative Nancy's. So
I'm not a negative Nancy. Obviously, that trailer was exactly what I didn't want to see out of this product. So that put me in a place of expectations where now I'm on the negative side, and that gameplay reveal didn't convince me otherwise. I was ready to be excited about a new Dragon Age. That trailer put me off so much that I have no idea what the marketing agency was paid for with respect to that particular video.
I think that you just confirmed his negative Nancy point, Hogue. You said, I'm not negative Nancy, and then you provided the reasons why you're being negative.
Negative Nancy is one of those things.
Is taking the negative out of anything. Like, to me, that deserves that kind of reaction. And if you're going to have something like that, then you can expect to have slow going to convince people that you're on the right track. And I can appreciate, Travis, that people in your life liked some of the shots of the gameplay and things like that. I think that's great. That tells me that maybe they're on the right track, but it's not my track, right? Not everything has to be made for me. I'm okay with that, but it's not a game I have to be excited about.
That's totally fine. I do think before you say that you're not a negative Nancy, you should check with the people in your life first to see if they agree with that assessment. That would be my
just the ones on this podcast, actually.
I'm an optimist. I am an optimist.
You should check with other people before you start calling yourself that. You really should. It's like when people say, like, I'm not an asshole. It's like, have you talked to other people about that first? Maybe see what they think. Maybe focus group it a little bit before you start saying that publicly.
I don't see anybody else out here flying the Skull and Bones flag.
It's true.
It's true.
I don't know if that
someone
helps
say that's part of your negative Nancy persona. It's being positive about that game is a negative quality, certainly.
Yeah, when this was shown on the screen, to Hoog's point, I agree. I was like, this is a weird vibe for Dragon Age, and there's my vibe word again. I am more promising now that I've seen the gameplay trailers. I do generally like what I'm seeing, but I wouldn't be opposed if it was art style was more like Origins. I agree with you on that front, Hoog. I love
with
Origins.
You guys? I mean, this is crazy. Dragon Age, like Stepia, is that what you guys want? Like where it's all brown and like boring and terrible? I mean, this is nuts. Let's go back to the graphics too, and then let's go back to like the terrible gameplay of KOTOR while we're at it. I mean, Jiminy Christmas, guys, just let it be. The first trailer was ass. It was totally ass. Let's just get this out of the way. You're right. It was terrible. Then after the gameplay came out, and then all the other stuff that they released, all the information, the developer Q&A, all that stuff that I read, I'm 100% all in on this.
I definitely felt better after all that, yes.
Yeah, the story and the characters are going to have to hit. All right? The art style, I can go one way or the other on. It doesn't really matter.
I'm cool with the art style. I just want to see some more polish with the performance on it.
With to your point, Dan, like I kind of see your point, which is like the original Dragon Age Origins look was a very specific look that they went to at the time that I don't think works anymore. And the most recent Dragon Age was a really long time ago. And so I think they do have to reinvent the way the game looks to make it acceptable today, but also keep whatever it was that they were going for in previous games. And so to me, I'm not that concerned by the different look. I think it has to look different just because of how much time has passed and all that stuff. But yeah, I get why people would be worried after the initial trailer because tonally it was just a weird trailer.
Yes,
but they were okay with that going out, right? I mean, I don't think we can skip the fact that trailer exists and that this was their announcement to the world. Nobody had seen Dreadwolf or Veilguard. This is what they were okay with presenting as their product at that point in time. So I don't think we can discount that exists and just say that the damage control worked. So like I am still going to think that whatever was represented there by that borderlandsification of your product exists in the writing and the characterization and the story. And you can't convince me otherwise without me playing the game at this point.
Totally.
How many times have we seen trailers though been completely different than what we've gotten actually in the game? I mean, it's so unfair to judge a game based on one thing. I just exactly. I mean, especially when a day later you come out with like a whole nother look at it.
We can say their debut was weird, Hogue, totally. Yes, but I think that if they immediately followed that up with a whole bunch of gameplay and a lot of people are really connecting with that, I just don't think it matters that much. It's kind of a myopic way of looking at it. So yeah, you could be miffed about the trailer. I've just been in too many studios. I know how the marketing teams work and how disconnected they are to the development teams. And, I think at some point they were like, how do we make this mass appeal as possible? And that seemed to work. But if the casuals in my life are any indication, and then for the hardcore people, you look at the gameplay and that's what really matters. So I don't know. I think give this one a chance. I agree. It was a weird reveal. I just don't think it matters that much because they followed it up with stuff that looks good right after that.
Yeah.
Well, again, I'm not trying to say I'm miffed about the trailer. I'm trying to say that those things do indicate certain notions about how the studio is moving forward with the product. And since I can't see what I care about here, which is the story and the characterization, because you can't see that before you play the game,
100%.
Then I'm going to take what I've been given as what I can base my knowledge on in terms of excitement. So I'm not excited about this game at all. And I have plenty of RPGs to be excited about this fall.
Sometimes trailers are indicate what a student thinks of it. Sometimes it's just a marketing person saying, it doesn't really matter because I think this trailer is going to bring people in and give us a chance to show them our game, and then that will sell them. You know what I mean? So I don't think that's necessarily true just based on my interaction with studios. Sometimes a trailer is just a trailer and people working on the game see it and they go, well, that's a weird way to present our game.
Okay, but I did hear the dialogue in the gameplay presentation, right? These things go together.
Sure.
Well, the good news is we won't have to wait long to find out, assuming they hit their release target, right? I mean, it's middle of June. It's not like anything releasing in 2024 is that far away.
Yeah, no, it's almost done.
I mean, It was cool to see it. I'll reach back out to Mark Dara. We should have him on again, right? Because he kind of has talked to us quite a bit about this, 2 years ago now, something, when it was, early in dev. So we'll see. But the funny thing is we talked the most about that. That's not even an Xbox game. It just happened to have that trailer at the showcase. So a couple specific things. We do have release dates for, so hard release dates. So Stalker 2 is coming out September 5th. This one was available to play at Summer Game Days. I sat next to someone playing it. I didn't hands-on myself. Looked pretty good. It looks to play pretty well. Seeds and I were talking prior to the show about potential frame rate, just again, end game polish. But, it's nice to see this one finally kind of approaching the finish line, given everything that studio's been through, of course, and getting that game out the door. I mean, we've talked before that if you're not familiar, Stalker 2 is literally being developed in Ukraine, and literally some people at the studio have left to fight in that against, kind of Russian invasion, if you will. So it's a very serious kind of time over there, which is crazy to be thinking about developing a video game in the middle of. So, you're on mute, Travis.
They've also lost team members to the war.
Yeah, I mean it's wild.
It's pretty hardcore.
Yeah, so hopefully support this game. It is Xbox not published, but it is Xbox supported, if you will. It is coming to Game Pass, and so we'll see this one soon. Hopefully it does well for them. They deserve it if anyone does. So, one of the biggest announcements for me, and one of my favorites of the show, was Diablo 4, of course, getting the Vessel of Hatred expansion date, October 8th.
Yeah. So soon. That is not what I expected for the date at all. That is in the middle of a season.
Agree. I expected maybe late November, something like that. But the great thing, so I love that they put the graphic warning up before this kind of cinematic trailer. Blizzard always crushes cinematic trailers. They are literally the best. And I don't know if you guys saw
that trailer.
Well, I don't know if you saw the post developer show that Ryan McCaffrey did with Phil Spencer and some of the team members on IGN Live, but the Blizzard producer was on the panel there, and she said that was the tame cut of the trailer, that they had to tone it down to be part of the showcase.
What did Nayrel do to you, Blizzard? Come on.
So, but I'm pumped about this. I think new region, new class, new loot, new everything, basically. And it's
about
3 months away. 4 months away. Yeah.
I mean, that game's turned around,
That game was always great, Seeds.
It was
just
always
better
great,
now.
It was great, but it really, I mean, I was making content around whenever it first came out around the builds and stuff. I agree, it was great, but it did not have enough content at the very beginning to really keep it going, in my opinion. And they have completely, I mean, just injected steroids, if you will, into the game now, to where it is hard to put it down. And that's the risk that you have with live service. They're very difficult. If they were easy, everyone would do it. And
I think.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, I was going to say, I think there's a distinction between having enough content for regular gamers and having enough content for content creators that are playing the game every single day,
or the hardcore Diablo people who are hardcore.
Yeah, it just depends. But yeah, I mean, that's the difficulty and the joy of live service games, is that you can add to it over time and expand it. And eventually there will be so much content that then people will then flip and start complaining about the fact that there's too much to do and they don't know where to focus their efforts. I mean, Destiny is now in that position and has been for a while. So this is the life cycle of the live service game that we've come to know. But I think this people at Blizzard working on Diablo 4 deserve probably more kudos than any other live service game doing what they do right now, just because their game was really good at launch, and then they immediately started getting to work to fixing and adding on to all of the stuff that people wanted to see changed. And now they've got a massive expansion coming around a year and a half after their base game. They've had big seasonal content. They've had the Loot Reborn current season with the big refresh and everything. So
excellent.
This studio is just, they get live service. Whoever showed them the ropes of like how to do live service, or wherever they learned their strategy from, that person knocked it out of the park because they're just doing stuff constantly. And
it's
I'm
new stuff
pretty
all
stoked about
the time.
it.
Yeah.
And you can see it tweaked like in real time, right? So season 4 Loot Reborn has all of the changes to the loot structure and the tempering and everything else, which is fantastic. But it also has the kind of permanent Helltide and vampire Helltide stuff built into it from season 2. So it's like they're taking the stuff that people really liked from all of the different things and putting them into the next seasons in real time, all while prepping for an expansion that's going to have a new area and a cool looking new class. We didn't get to talk about it yet, but the jungle theme for this expansion has a new class called the Spiritborn, which I don't know how better to put it. It looks rad. They're going to talk about it, I think, later this month or next month about what it actually means. But they did an interview, which I really loved, that made me feel like Diablo's in the perfect hands for the future, that talks about wanting to have a different play style added with this new class and not just having copy classes because people are asking for paladins all the time. And I really think Diablo 4 could not be in a stronger place right now, and I love it to death. And like I said, we aren't talking about what we're playing this week, but I'm playing a heck of a lot of Diablo 4.
Killing you.
It is. It's eating away at him that he can't talk about what he's playing.
That's the third time he's talked about what he's playing.
I know, he keeps injecting it like every 20 minutes.
I got more.
I have been addicted to Diablo 4 as well, at least until Elden Ring hits now. But I mean, me, Pampa, Bomber are level 100s. We finished Nightmare Dungeon level 100, high level pit, doing the end game stuff now, trying to beat those tormented bosses. So
you guys always play more than me. When I think I'm playing something a lot, you're coming at me with, we all got level 100s. And it's like, okay. I recently got through the campaign again.
There's so much to do now. There's so much in the game to do now. And it's just, I mean, like Travis said, the team over there has done a phenomenal job. And what I really liked is whenever they were kind of listening to the feedback, they were very conscious of some of the, I don't even know if I want to call them missteps, but they understood the frustration that was there from the community as a whole that supported, and they just did a phenomenal job of taking the feedback, taking the criticism, and implementing it to bring the game to where it is now. And it's just like Travis said, they've done a phenomenal job. Whoever has walked them through doing live service and keeping it going and constantly improving it. I mean, just they nail it. They have it down to a T.
I've been counting their mistakes, and so far they've made one major mistake of note, which is after they launched the game, they almost immediately nerfed a bunch of stuff. I think it was when season 1 came out, and I call that one shaking the jello, which is you're not supposed to change the game too much before the jello gets a chance to set, right?
Yeah.
They made that one, and I was like, oh, that's one of them on my list, right? Because I have this whole thing in my brain of the things you do and don't want to do with the live service model. So, but aside from that, they have a pretty flawless track record in terms of not making specific promises, keeping the feedback loop going constantly, their content pipeline, they're making so many right moves. It's just really impressive, honestly, because I'm just used to even the best of the best in this business making way more unforced errors than this team has. So really excited for this expansion.
Well, they're bouncing between kind of popular seasons, right? 1 and 3 are not as popular as 2 and 4. And that's interesting to me, but they're still borrowing things from various seasons as they move forward. So I am not a live service guy. This is not where I live. This is not where my bread is buttered. So this is all pretty new to me. I don't play end game of these things. And I have been super impressed by the changes. And you can hear me talk before season 4 came out that I wasn't positive about whether or not a refresh of that size would make me lose my love for a game that I was enjoying. And I am so happy to say it's even better now. And I have complete trust in the designers of this video game.
Yeah, it was, agreed on everything. I'm super pumped about this. I like that they're doing a new class that kind of goes with the theme of the new area, right? Something different, which is cool.
The art is awesome. My little pre-order jungle cat is sweet.
Yeah, I've seen those running around, and And then Rod, you can tell Rod's loving it. He was at the he came up after the show to the media lounge where we were all kind of like working on stuff and having lunch and stuff, and he was just hanging out and chatting with everyone. He's just, he's living in the moment, loving it, which is cool.
They seem very confident.
Yes.
Did you ask
he's a super nice guy.
Did you ask him if he's excited for Gears of War E-Day?
Yeah.
We haven't gotten there.
People were talking to him about Gears and where it is.
Yeah,
he even posted on social about how cool this looks. So, we're going to get the Gears. Don't you worry. So we've got, Blizzard also announced the next expansion for World of Warcraft, War Within, coming August 26th. So that's even closer than Diablo expansion. I don't think anyone here, unless you are Seeds, is a big WoW player, but the guys I've talked to at SG who play, there's two that Eric and Steve play WoW pretty regularly, and they're pumped. They didn't expect it was coming this soon. At least I don't think, if I have that right, if I'm thinking of the right thing, but they're excited for it. So
I assume with a name like the War Within, it's going to be about like the players overcoming their personal problems. Right?
It's just
like
therapy sessions.
They're going to go to counseling. Yeah, War Within. Is that
There's
it?
a bunch of couches spread around. You just make appointments and work through things. Yeah.
That now I would log back on to WoW for that.
Would you?
I've got some stuff to work through.
Then, so we got the next look at Avowed. The weird thing here was that they showed Avowed. This is one of the weird things from the show, I think. They showed Avowed. They showed gameplay. They confirmed 2024 still, and then waited to the next day or 2 days later, whenever they did the breakdown with Obsidian, to show the release date, which is November 12th. So I don't know why they didn't just show November 12th at the show, but here we are.
Is that a real release date?
That is a real release date.
I didn't think that one was confirmed.
It was on their Obsidian blog post that they accidentally released.
Yep.
Did they pull it? Didn't they take it down?
Yes.
Did they leave it back up? Yeah. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't,
so November.
So they released the release date and then they pulled down the release date.
Yeah.
Yep. But in there, it wasn't like a leak. It was an official Obsidian thing they put up by mistake. But November 12th is the date on that. Looks good. I think the biggest thing from the gameplay breakdown we got here is the fact that there's a lot more to this game than we saw on these couple-minute trailers. Go figure. Including the biggest thing I think for many people, including me, was that you can play the whole game in third person. It doesn't have to be played in first person. Excuse me.
That was cool.
So I like that. I think that's cool. I'm excited about this. They kind of talked about more of the depth with the conversations and the relationship building and kind of the pillars of eternity. Stuff in the world. So I'm pumped.
More pirates.
Don't you start.
And crab.
There's a lot of pirates in the Pillars of Eternity world. I don't know what to tell you. I'm just talking about Pillars of Eternity.
As long as we're talking about pillars, you're fine.
Their first gameplay trailer was like all nautical pirate themed. Remember that?
Yeah.
We were like
and haunted pirates. Yeah.
Good Lord.
I'll be
I have to
interested
tell
in
you-
the performance.
I have to tell you, I'm a little cold on Avowed, but this one was warming me up. I like what I saw from the story trailer and from the gameplay stuff. So,
Me too.
speaking of things I'm more excited about than Veilguard, let's put Avowed on that list.
Sorry, Siege, you're gonna say?
I'll be interested to see the performance, especially in the third person. I want to see, one of the things I really want to see from Xbox Studios is 60, at least give me a choice between 60 FPS performance mode and if people want to play 30 FPS on fidelity and quality mode. I've had, for me, I've had 7 deployments. I've had some pretty close calls where things have blown up close to my head. And when I play a game that's in 30 FPS like Zelda and some of these others, I get headaches. And so, that is one of the things that I'm looking for out of their studios is just give me the option to be able to choose, which one I want to play on. And I think that, in this generation of consoles, we should have that now for, Series X owners and obviously in PS5. So I do want to see that. I want to see them be able to bring out a game that is capable of doing that on release and offer that, especially with the third person, because I hope that it is a smooth third person, and not kind of
Fallout
janky, if you will,
or Skyrim.
An afterthought.
The worst.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I would like to see that focus there because I do think that was, I didn't know that it was going to have third person. I really like that. So, I hope that they put that attention to detail in the third person, just like they do in the first person. So,
yeah, I hope so too. I know, Dan, you have a little shorter time today, so I want to make sure I get to this one, of course, and I'm going to start with you because State of Decay 3 was shown. It was one of my favorite trailers from the show, and they actually integrated some gameplay in it as well, which looked really cool.
Was there gameplay in that trailer? Because if there was, then it did look really cool.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, it's probably out of all these games that was, aside from Killer Bean, of course, this is probably my number one for the showcases.
Nice.
But I've been looking forward to this forever. And anything that they come out with, I know it's gonna. When 2 came out, I mean, it had some issues for sure, but I've never seen. I mean, you see games like No Man's Sky and Fallout 76 and all these other games get a lot of this praise for continuing the support, going forward. But you don't see games, or like Undead Studio or Undead Labs, get that kind of praise for State of Decay as much. And
they should.
They should because they're still putting out stuff today. They just released, a few months ago, a huge addition to the game, like random events and random situations, which are super fun. I'm super pumped for this one. It looked gorgeous. I really hope that there's, to Seeds' point about a 60 frames option, because I mean the graphics look so good compared to State of Decay 2, and they're at a point where that's fine. Like I don't need super hyper realistic in all my stuff. I want nice smooth gameplay. I want some different options maybe as far as the base building and I'm interested to see what they do with it. But it looked awesome, and I'm
so would you say that the state of our decay is strong?
Yeah, it's a lot of decay. Yeah,
nice.
Everything looked good. But here's the thing, and because I know I got to go here, and I'll probably just leave after this. The problem, it's not really a problem. All these games, Xbox, overall, I think they knocked it out of the park with this whole showcase. I loved a lot of the stuff that I see.
It felt like an old school E3 showcase,
right?
That we used to love. Yeah,
right. And so now we've been doing this for years. They just have to deliver it. We've always talked about what they have to do and hit that cadence, and we've got Game Pass and do this, and they still haven't done it. It's been a long time, but am I excited? Yes. Am I 100% sold that this is going to all pan out like it's supposed to? Probably not, but I'm on board. So hopefully, State of Decay 3 just kind of ushers in. Did they even give a release date on that? Did they? I don't know if I saw it.
No,
I don't even think it has a year.
It's probably, God, I hope it's next year at least. But
it should be. I think
State
of Decay 3, Doom, and Fable are big ones next year.
Yeah, God, I hope so.
Oh, and South America.
Anyway, yeah, it was.
When this game inevitably comes out and Dan plays it for years at a time, we'll have to add a segment to the show called "The State of Decay."
Yeah, State of Decay.
Dan's State of Decay. That could be a combo.
Problem.
That's a perfect.
Yeah, he'll talk about how he's decaying as a person, and also the game he's playing, how
physically decaying.
Yeah,
whatever injury you have.
Yeah, good.
It's something. But yeah, I'm pretty excited for it. I'm pretty excited for a lot of these things that we saw. Fable.
Yeah, great. It's a shame you can't join us. There's a lot more games to talk through here on the Xbox piece.
Trust me, I'm much rather be here than where I'm going to be going here shortly. So,
Happy Father's Day.
Yeah, Happy Father's Day. But I'm going to take off, guys. Everybody, Happy Father's Day to everybody in the chat. Happy Father's Day to all you guys, except for Travis. Whatever.
Next year.
Next year. Get that crab. But you guys all have a good Sunday and enjoy your day.
All right, Dan. See you, man.
I do.
See you, man.
All right, let me swap this up here. We'll go.
The only one who cares about his kids this day.
Should we just make Seeds be Dan?
Be Dan from Australia.
Australian Dan.
Give us your real Australian accent now.
Yeah.
All right, let me. I got a couple of comments and super chats to mention before we continue on here. So, Fifth String with the member comment. Xbox Showcase felt like I just said this. 2010 E3 Showcase, loved it. Yeah, I think I adored this Xbox Showcase. We're going to talk about more games, of course, but this was my favorite showcase in a very long time, if not ever. It was fantastic. Lucius, $2 super chat. More Hexen Doom than Diablo Doom, in my opinion. Yeah, good shout out. Very fair.
Hexen. Yeah. Wow.
Hexen. Yeah.
That's what I thought they were going to announce, by the way. I thought for
That'd
years,
be cool.
my buddy, I thought Duggan was working on a Hexen game because I think Phil Spencer wore a Hexen shirt last year.
Did.
So I thought I thought that's what they were going to announce, but this was probably cooler.
Yeah. Yeah. Lucius, thank you as always. Good to have you here. And Fat Boy Horror in the house with the £5. Afternoon, gents. Dragon Age Origins might still exist, but is broken as hell. Yeah, it's not really well optimized, that's for sure. Plus, everything is brown, lots of brown.
It's not a great graphical looker, but it's a fantastic game.
It's written well.
Very true. Very true. Yes. Thank you, Fat Boy. Good to see you, brother. All right. So let's keep going here. So, Fable. We did get the next look at Fable. We got some gameplay of Fable. We got some humor, as you would expect. 2025, as we already knew it would be, but good to see it again. I'm very, very excited at what Playground is cooking up here. I think Playground is an extremely talented studio. If you don't know, they have expanded a lot in the past couple of years internally. They're a big studio, and I think that they are really going to they're going to bring Fable into now, the current time, I think extremely well. But I don't know how you guys are vibing with it so far.
Well, I mean, this is the reason I'm not getting a Horizon trailer, right? I'm not a big Fable guy. I didn't like what you generously call humor in the original series. I don't love a fart emote and that being part of the storyline. I don't think that's great gaming, but a number of people love it. So I hope they hit what they're looking for. It's not going to be for me. I'd rather have
not a fart
emote,
Hogue. Okay, it is a fart action, and when you fart on people, they take the disrespect. Okay, so it's different. It's a world that responds to your farts, and I think you're missing that.
Well, hold on.
I never liked the humor. I never thought the combat was great. Fable is not a series that I have enjoyed.
Well, hold on. You said you just said this game is not going to be for me. It's probably a year plus away. It's not the same studio that made prior Fables, and it's
still unlikely to be a game for me.
And it's a decade plus, and you're still already writing it off.
Hogue has decided to not consider this game.
One thing I have noticed about you, Hogue. One thing I have noticed about you is you are an initial impression guy, and it is very hard to move you off of your initial impression. Once you decide something, as soon as you see it, that's it. And you will double down to the 10th degree.
And I'll mostly buy everything and give it a try. I mean, like, that's what I do. But I don't need to be excited about things in advance that are unlikely to impress me when they finally release.
Also true. Also fair.
I will take a not negative Nancy take on this, but similar to Hogue's perspective, which is that like Hogue, the other Fable games haven't quite hit for me. I played them all probably for too many times. I think I told you guys that I broke up with a girl so I could play the first Halo game or first Fable game. I
was going to say there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, right?
Exactly. Yeah, a Fable game is what I meant.
Combat Evolved.
I just really wanted to play it, and she wanted to have a conversation about our feelings, and I was like, I have to get to this game. I'm sorry. So that was
understandable.
But anyway. The first Fable, all the promises we got never quite got there, but it was an interesting idea. Fable 2, kind of the same situation. Fable 3, I actually think did some really cool stuff, but it just, I think this is a series that has never quite reached the peaks it has aspired to. The thing that gets me excited about this, don't dedicate.
You have no response to that. I mean, that's just a fact.
But I'll say this. That makes me more excited about this game because I think that what they have is this foundation of like potential that is like so clear in the series. They're maybe one of the best development studios in the industry right now, at least one of the best track records, certainly. And I think that they have an opportunity to actually fulfill a lot of the potential that the series has had. So I personally am like Hogue, and that the other Fables have never really quite done it for me, but I've seen the potential, and I think Playground Games has a really unique opportunity to capture that. So I'm super excited.
Yeah, I agree. I never really got too much into the Fable games. I have played through them all, but like you just said, I felt that there was something missing. Playground Games though makes these worlds so beautiful, and they're very well crafted, and the studio as a whole just does a fantastic job of bringing these things to life. I think the only, not even a concern, but maybe question is I've never seen them do anything heavily driven by narrative. And so I do have a question, around that. Like, how do they take what they have been just, excellent as a studio, and take that quality and also give us this story that is just awesome to be involved in and to explore. So that would be the only question mark for me on that game is, can Playground pull that off? And if they do pull that off, that studio is just killer, because they have shown how well-rounded they are as a whole.
Yeah.
I also want to stand in defense of the comedy potential. I do think that Fable has been funny. Hogue doesn't think fart jokes can be funny, right? And there's fart jokes in some of the greats. Monty Python has fart jokes. Hogue thinks he knows better than Monty Python, and that's because he's clearly an aficionado when it comes to comedy, and he's got great taste. So
I know what makes me laugh, and it isn't Fable.
Sure.
We'll see if this one does.
What makes me laugh is hearing you talk about comedy. But yeah, I do think that they have an opportunity to have some really cool British humor, which British humor is not something that we get to see featured in games a lot, which I think is cool. It's a unique opportunity and perspective. So
yeah,
I do love British humor. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is one of my favorite books of all time. I have not gotten to that level, certainly, with any Fable product before now, but I am amenable to your argument that there was potential here, and if we let someone else try to mine it, it might have a better outcome. I'm also, unfortunately, amenable to Dan Seeds' position, which is that Playground has made Horizon games, and they're fantastic, but certainly nobody's going to them for the story. And whatever PR manager is going to yell at you for your racing is not the same as trying to put together a full fantasy story.
Yeah, I wish I knew. We'll see, obviously, what gets delivered with Fable. I like what I'm seeing so far. As I said, the team has expanded greatly. Now, how is that expansion, to your guys' point, right? Have they brought in, I assume they've brought in narrative writers, and they've brought in teams that are, prepared to do that sort of thing. So I don't know. We'll see how the game turns out, but I'm excited for it. I think it looks, what they've shown, I've liked. We also, shockingly, and this was a funny one, I'll call this out on our guessing game. I didn't get to talk about the guessing game while Dan was still here, but we
can save it for next week. I don't think we're going to get to Ubi Forward either.
That's true. Well, yeah, we're going long here.
Tell me the results, though. Who won?
It's a tie between me and Luke, and we only won by 1 point over Hogue, 3 points over Dan and you. You got 1 point subtracted, Hogue, Travis, off possible because of Doom. You abstained, so your possible was lower. But it was super, super close all around. Me and Luke tied with 19 out of 38. Hogue got 18. Dan got 16.
We did terribly,
15.
Though. Predictions.
Yeah, overall, we're off. But the reason I bring this up, I was going to talk about Perfect Dark, and I put, do we see Perfect Dark at the show? And I was the only one who said yes. All four of you said no. And Travis, you said no with a laugh, which was quite fun.
Yeah. So, I honestly stand by that no and a laugh, because I had that was the biggest surprise of the show. And it's also one of the things that I was most excited about. That game is still miles away, I think, but I just by what they're going for and the progress they've made, I was blown away. I'm very excited for Perfect Dark now.
I think it looks great.
I just laughed at it because all we've heard is that it's in development hell, and we've seen nothing. And they went from 0 to here's a whole bunch of like stuff we want to put in the game, and I was completely blown away. So I stand by that prediction because at the time it was laughable that they would show anything, and I'm very excited. I'm very happy that we saw that. That was one of the coolest things they showed.
I had tweeted out like after they showed it, like who reported on this being this in development hell, because this, I mean, what they showed,
it was
like.
It was in development hell. I mean, Crystal Dynamics is like in there co-developing the game. They've had problems, no doubt.
Yeah, and it was, but I was blown away. A, that they showed it, and B, to the extent that they showed some, actual gameplay. Obviously, it's cut up and stuff, but still, I was shocked. That definitely, I didn't think the game was going to be there. First off, if it was, I thought it was just going to be like a spot trailer of. Maybe her holding a gun or something like that. Yeah, some cinematic that they're still working on it. But man, when that pulled out, I was like, "What is this?" And then whenever I started to see her character form, I was like, "Wow, that's coming together."
Looks good.
Yeah, as soon as they said Carrington, I said it was Perfect Dark, but it did look good. It looked evocative of the old GoldenEye Perfect Dark kind of era. So I'm very hopeful that will continue that way. Unfortunately, like some of the trailers we saw, it does appear to be aspirational and very far in the future.
100%. Yep.
Yeah.
They had a good start.
Yeah,
no, I'm glad that that's the tone they're aimed for. I just don't know whether they'll hit it.
Yeah, exactly. So, we did get, it's kind of interesting because there's some stuff releasing later this year, obviously some bigger stuff. And then we got 2025 on a few things, kind of like South of Midnight, which we'll get to and stuff. But Perfect Dark, we're still kind of like, when there's no kind of target that I'm aware of anyway.
It was interesting to see that they gave credit to Crystal Dynamics on the trailer. Obviously CD has been involved with them. That was a big press release kind of announcement, but I didn't know that they wouldn't be essentially white labeled into the development process. And that's a big deal. Yeah,
it is. It's pretty cool to see. Going backwards for 1 second, back to Fabled, Diego, shout out to Diego. Good to see you, man. He has a good question. He says, do we think this will be Playgrounds' Guerrilla Games moment, going from Killzone to Horizon, Playground Games going from Horizon, obviously the car racing, to Fable?
The problem with that analogy is that Horizon is already a great game.
True.
As opposed to Killzone?
Killzone was not fantastic.
To me, I feel like it's closer to Respawn going from Titanfall to Jedi. But I'm hopeful that it has as good of an outcome as it really connects super well with the Jedi games, but I think that's kind of a maximum.
I can't tell if you just said Titanfall was a bad game.
Yeah.
I said Titanfall was a good game.
Okay.
No, I said Titanfall was a good game because
better.
I'm saying that you said that it doesn't work as a metaphor because Horizon was already a good game. I'm saying Titanfall was already a good game, and I had my doubts that they would be able to move to a narrative, character-based game in Jedi.
I got you.
Both are good.
Got it.
Yeah, gotcha. Sorry, Seeds. Go ahead.
No, I think it's I think it was a great point, but I think it's an even bigger leap. Like Playground goes from making these just beautiful racing games that we've experienced to, you're talking about a potentially heavy dialogue laden game.
RPG.
With all these different components and building this world.
Well, and Horizon is an RPG. Remember, I will die on that hill.
A car RPG?
It's a car RPG.
Without character.
Right.
It has characters and writing, actually, and story.
Okay, now wait a minute.
But in
Travis, you are not going to die on the hill of.
Now you're being pedantic. You're being Travis here.
It does have stories. It does.
Travis, it has. You're late for your PR appointment. Why aren't you racing yet? Now fight against this boat.
Hey, racers, get out there. Let's go, guys. It's just
fine.
Have you guys not done the little episodes where you
I know what you're referring to, Travis. It does have a little more than that, but not compared to a narrative RPG.
Correct. But I will just say the story part of it is a detail, right? That's like you hire a team and they work on dialogue and it's the form. My point is, I think people give way too little credit to these. It's just a racing studio. Like, racing games are incredibly hard to make. They're especially hard to make fun, and the level of technical ability and the level of like gamification, the systems that you have to make in a Forza RPG like game, to the RPG part of it is incredibly complex. And so I think that you guys are assuming, oh, well, RPGs must be harder. I don't know that they are. I think RPGs might be easier than a racing game, like for Horizon.
If Fable has a slot machine that awards you gear after you level up, I think that would be taken poorly.
I agree, but I don't think you have to include everything. That's true, actually. It does have that. I don't think you have to include every system. My point is that I think they've gone from making, for my money, one of the hardest types of games to make in this industry to make an RPG that I would say is probably a little easier in terms of all the stuff you have to juggle. And so I don't think it's that big of a change. People are Travis, acting like this is like them going from the little leagues
Travis,
to like
we're running over, so I'm just going to go with I think you're wrong.
I do. I
Sure.
just think that I agree. Racing is a very niche and hard to attract players. But I think a game like Fable, when there's going to be so many different things going on from side quests to main quests, and you got all these different just environments.
They have that in Horizon.
Enemy design, then, Travis. Do they have a lot of enemy design in Horizon?
They do not, but they do have your player ghost.
All right, we're moving on.
Hey, that's hard to make. That's hard.
Wait a minute. I do want to highlight one thing, Ains. As a fan of Final Fantasy, I really like this comment.
When you Rick Davis, that would be a JRPG, actually.
A JRPG, yeah, that's about right.
Yeah, it would be.
When Fable comes out, I'm going to come back so we can talk about this again.
Yeah, there we go.
Please
Fair enough.
I will be happy to accept all of your guys' apologies with humility.
Gosh.
I hope I love Fable. I hope I love every game.
Moving on. All right. Indiana Jones.
Before we move on, you skipped one of my favorite trailers of the show.
I'm not skipping. I'm jumping a bit.
Okay.
I'm not going in direct order. Don't worry.
All right.
Yeah. I wanted to mention Indiana Jones and the Great Circle next because that's one that's still coming this year. We got extended coverage of it 2 days ago on Friday from Bethesda. And we got an interview with the creative director and one of the other main devs at Machine Games making this to talk in detail about it. I will tell you guys, I'm hugely pumped about this. I'm an older guy. I'm an indie fan, of course, grew up with it. But I think the game, and based on the conversation on Friday, I really like what they're kind of going for here. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. The only weird thing, which I think many people are thinking, is it's the middle of June. They're saying it's coming out this year. We still don't have a release date. I don't know why they're still waiting on that. But
they did that a lot in this show. They did it at least 3 times. So I don't know if they're just holding on to their dates. Like they were holding on to Avowed, right? And you said it came out in a blog post.
Came out after the show.
So presumably they have target dates in June of the same year that they're planning to release these games. But for whatever reason, they're holding on to them. I thought the vibe of this trailer was great. I thought it was Indiana Jones pretty much to a T. I'm still not certain that I will like playing the game in first person. Some of the clips they've shown with whip action and things, I don't know that I will enjoy it as much as I enjoy these cutscenes. I think the cutscenes match what I want from an Indiana Jones movie, but I have Indiana Jones movies. I'm not sure about an Indiana Jones game for this.
So for me, the cinematics are the thing that I was more concerned with because I already know that Machine Games. I already know that they're good at making action-packed games where I kill Nazis. So I'm less worried about that. I'm more worried about, like, can they get the tone right? Can they get indie right? We now have seen that looks correct. That cutscene made me wonder why more of it wasn't gameplay. Like a lot of it was like, okay, they're kind of like showing the whole confrontation in a cutscene.
I think to your point though, I think they were trying to show that this is an indie game.
I think you're right. I think their goal with this one was like, we don't want people to think this is reskinned Wolfenstein. We want them to show we can get the tone of indie right, and they showed the most indie clip that they could think of. Like they were like, let's get that cutscene done and put that out there. So I think you're right, but I'm still trying to figure out in my brain how these two things gel together. The Nazi killing combat where I've got a whip, and then the transition to these cutscenes where I'm like sitting for 25 minutes watching like an entire scene from an Indiana Jones movie. So I'm more concerned about how those two come together, but I assume gameplay will be good. They've earned my benefit of the doubt there because their other games have great combat. And now I know that the cutscenes have potential too. So,
well, but I mean, to your point, Travis, where I get concerned is it like Indy is not BJ Blazkowicz, right?
Sure.
You say that they've proven themselves. I agree that those games are good, but I don't want Indy to have a chain gun mowing down Nazis in a temple. Yes, I am sure. That is not the vibe I want from Indiana Jones.
Don't knock it till you try it. Why are we prejudging Indy with the chain gun?
Because we're talking about our expectations set from trailers. It's really the entire exercise.
You know that scene where
I think just killing Nazis with a chain gun sounds fun. I mean,
it does.
We've got games for that, Ains.
I know.
You know that scene where the guy pulls out the big sword and then Indy just shoots him?
I do.
Wouldn't that scene have been better if he pulled out a chain
No, what
gun?
are you referring to?
Why?
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Wouldn't that scene have been better if he pulled out a chain gun?
Of just asking Travis, no, what?
Because he's just, he's like, that scene. It's like, it's the most famous scene of all time for Indiana Jones. Like, everyone knows that scene.
Is that the most famous?
That and probably the ball rolling down the damn thing.
I think the ball rolling and the bridge breaking with the Wilhelm scream.
Bridge breaking.
Temple Doom. So, Seeds, what do you think, man?
Yeah,
Indy?
I
Dr.
actually
Jones.
agree with. I agree with both the points that were made. I was a little worried, I guess, going in playing first person. Not really sure, but they, like Travis said, the studios earned my trust in the games that they've made to make it look good and feel good in that first person. So I'm going to play it, check it out. Would I have liked a third person? Yes, but I also appreciate their desire to be different and to give us that first person experience as Indiana Jones and see what that feels like. I think maybe there could have been comparisons made to like Uncharted and stuff like that if they did go third person. So I can appreciate them, taking that on and going first person. I look forward to trying that out. That was my main thing. How's that gonna feel being Indiana Jones with a whip in first person? So
yeah, that's, if you haven't watched it, I think that's why they talked about that a lot on Friday. Is that was probably the biggest part of the conversation, was exactly that, because I think they know people are kind of curious as to what it's going to be like in first person, and they talked a lot about that. So, but let's so anyway, still coming out this year. We'll see what the actual release date is. We got a cool new IP announcement which has made waves, called Mixtape, which is the next game from the Artful Escape developers, Beethoven and Dinosaur.
Great name.
Yeah. And obviously licensed music in this one, taking you back to an era, decades ago when some of us around here grew up. So this one has seemed to, again, using the word vibe with people really well. And I think there's a lot of, hype about this.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Why do you point out every time you use the word vibe?
Because it's become it feels like I say it too much now. So every time I go to say it, it feels like I need to preface that I'm going to say vibe again. But for this game, I think
you have
it's
a vibe trigger warning.
I assume that since Ains reads all the comments, that he's gotten notes about saying the word vibe.
Yes, it did come up on the last show when I said it.
Would you like me to provide some synonyms? If you're
not comfortable, no, I'm sticking with vibe. I like it.
It's his word, man.
Stop trying to tell my vibe.
So would you say that using the word vibe is your new vibe as a person?
Yeah, it's my vibe.
Okay,
Stop trying to dull it. All right, Mixtape.
Mixtape was fantastic.
Sorry, did you just say dull your vibe? I think we're mixing.
Stop it. Hogue, Mixtape.
Mixtape was a fantastic looking trailer, and I am enthused about going on another musical journey with this studio.
Agreed.
Great.
Yeah.
No notes.
All right. No notes. All right. One of my favorite surprises of any of the showcases actually was Expedition 33.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Coming out of a French studio. Looks, they started with this kind of cinematic approach, a little dark, a little bit. I was like, ooh, what's this? And then they moved to the combat and they showed more of the UI and the combat styles and the action. And it all clicked for me. I was like, this is awesome looking. So this seemed to have been making waves, not just for us, it seems, but pretty broadly since the show. And I think a lot of hype behind this one. I can't wait to see more of it.
It's amazing looking. And the thought that I had was that with Veilguard's trailer disaster a few minutes before this, has a game ever kind of come out of the shadows and shown itself and then gotten its lunch immediately eaten by something we've never heard of before? Like, what is the actual title? It's like Claire de Lune Expedition 33?
It's Claire Obscure Expedition 33.
Okay. So yeah, Expedition 33 has like all the vibes of Greedfall plus Final Fantasy and turn-based action
and
in an
Persona.
RPG setting. This is fantastic looking. Expedition 33 looks wonderful.
Yeah, it's got some previous Ubisoft devs working on it.
Yeah.
I think it ate Metaphor's lunch too, honestly. I was more excited by this than Metaphor by the end of the trailer. Also, the painter terrifies me. Is anybody else terrified?
Dude, I love painter? It. I love the kind of dark kind of. It feels like the setting for the game is something far more serious, right? That you're trying to kind of.
It's
solve.
surreal. It's like it's very uncomfortable looking, and just the idea
really did
of
feel like Greedfall.
Yeah, it is kind of like Greedfall in that it's like something so foreign from any like current settings that we have that you kind of don't even know what to compare it to. This is probably my game of the show.
I liked it a lot. I like that the cinematic portion of it, before they showed the awesome looking combat and stuff, was that like, you know, she painted down from 34 to 33, obviously setting up the title, but like all the people just turned to dust, you know, it basically just eliminated all these people from the world.
Imagine how depressing the last 9 years are going to be when it's just kids and they can't do anything and they're just getting deleted every year. What a sad.
As they're getting older too.
Yeah,
so like they're converging timelines. Yeah.
Well, you got to figure that it wouldn't work because at around like age 5, there would no longer be any 5-year-olds because you would have to have people freshly producing them. There wouldn't be anybody old enough to have kids. You know what I mean? Like,
so I thought about the same thing.
I was thinking about the logistics
minds
for this for a long time. I was like, so what would be the last feasible year if we counted down? If Expedition 33 fails, how young can we get before we run out of humans?
You just assume that it's a countdown. Maybe she just picks a random number.
I think they said it in a weird way. I think it might have been a translation thing that she paints a new number, but I think it was very clear that it was counting down because there was no one older than 33 in the world. So
34, they got wiped.
Yeah. What a crazy game.
So we'll see more of that one. It definitely stuck out to me. Excuse me. We also got, which I didn't expect to see gameplay of, South of Midnight. So I've been talking about Compulsion Games for a while. They're one of my kind of, this is one of my kind of dark horse studios since the acquisition years ago now, back in 2018. I've just something about Compulsion I really like. I think they're kind of going for their own thing. And South of Midnight looks, I really enjoyed it. I love the trailer. I love the vibe. Maybe that it gave off. And I like that they showed a little gameplay. Obviously, it was pretty simple gameplay. They did do a little more coverage or detail on Xbox Wire, which they did for a lot of these games, actually. So you can go and find more details on it. But I really like the look of this, man. I love the art style. I love how it's animated. Another one I'm just hugely excited for.
I have a lot of thoughts on this one. I'm the opposite of you with respect to Compulsion, Ains. They've never made anything that I've liked. And so I have been coming off a little bit standoffish, maybe a little negative Nancy towards this project, but I liked this trailer a lot. I liked the teaser last year. I'm not as sold on the animation, but I remember that I was not as sold on the animation of like the Spider-Verse when I watched those trailers. So I'm willing to give them a crack at it to show me that it works for their project. And what I really loved the music. And in some of the interviews that they gave afterwards, they talk about the music building up across the levels and reflecting what you're doing in the levels themselves. And I thought that was just the coolest idea. And so I'm looking forward to seeing that implemented. The gameplay left a lot to be desired. It seemed very basic. And so I hope that is not like the full breadth of your experience in South of Midnight, but I don't have any reason to believe that it is. So I'm positive on it overall. I love the key art that they released a little bit after the trailer, but
it's beautiful.
I'm not sold on it one way or the other just yet.
Fair enough. Yeah, I don't think anyone should be fully sold on it, right? Because the gameplay they showed was short. It was brief. They were just given a glimpse. Comes out next year. So, yeah, we will see. They do, like, I was just double checking while you were talking, because, yeah, they do have an interview up on Xbox Wire you can check out with the development team where they talk more about specific details. They did that, like I said, with a lot of these games. There's more info out there than the trailer.
And they sent their people out for interviews, because I think I read that music interview from somewhere else.
Yeah, this is a pretty long. I mean, this is a pages long interview here. You can get a lot more details on Xbox Wire. So they have a whole breakdown of all the games from the show. So check it out. Yep.
Yeah, I love everything about this game, but I agree. It strikes me as one of those games that seems like it's going to have a gameplay challenge, quite possibly. Like, I love this game, but the gameplay is sort of a grind. Just gotta get through it. Maybe that's wrong. That's just kind of what.
We'll see. I think it's too early to tell that. We'll see.
Well, usually you try to show the most fun, exciting part of your game and gameplay. You know, that's the thing that scares me. It's like your gameplay debut, and it looks.
Well, it's funny because
by the numbers
in the interview it says we didn't want to reveal everything in this particular gameplay trailer just yet. Spells are going to be used for traversal, problem solving, and combat, and this is how Hazel expresses her use of power through different gameplay elements. So they talk a little more about it. I won't obviously read it down, but yeah, we'll see. I mean, you know, it's a game that's a year plus.
We will.
So. Yep. Where am I here? We got another partnership on Wu Chang Fallen Feathers. This is a Souls-like. So we were talking earlier about Souls-like.
I can't do Wo Long and Wo Kong and Wu Chang. I'm having trouble. I have to be honest.
Yeah. So they have a preview up again on Xbox Wire if you want to learn more about this one. It is a Souls-like. It is coming to, I think this is one of the ones that's coming to Game Pass, because there were a bunch of Game Pass partnerships. Okay. But you know, you got Souls-like, you got beasts, you got big creatures and bass bottles. Yes. Boss battles. I am in. So
I like hopefully bass bottles.
Battle of that bass. Fighting with a fishing pole.
This is not a fishing game.
Yeah, exactly.
Can't you put a bass in a bottle in Legend of Zelda? Like you scoop one of your glasses and you get.
I don't think there's any proof that that's a bass.
I think you can get a bass. Aren't there different fish types?
I don't. Honestly, man, I don't know.
I remember a lot of that fishing mini game.
Then we got the next Life is Strange game. Glad Dan's not here to rant about it. Life is Strange Double Exposure, which is going to launch on October 29th. So if you're a Life is Strange fan, it's right up that alley, right? Isn't it a continuation, I believe, of one of the stories? I don't know. Life is Strange. Okay.
Kind of. It's Max. It's Deck 9, though. I mean, it's not Don't Nod.
Okay.
It's not Don't Nod, but it is a continuation, which will be interesting because you make a pretty big decision at the end of the last game that I don't know if we've resolved. So,
and the interviews say that they're not going to pick a canon choice for the end of the first game, which seems impossible. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. You just don't address it.
They're not going to pick a canon choice for the first game.
I'm guessing she moved to a new city then. That's my guess.
I think it has to be in a new city.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I haven't played them, so there you go. Then we got Flight Sim 2024. We knew this one was coming, obviously. They showed more. I think, obviously, they're going for a little more. They're keeping the realism, but going for a little more gameplay styles than just flying around, which is kind of cool. That's coming November 19th, so that's coming later the year.
It seemed to be the purpose of the trailer was to show that, like, for people that didn't love the last Flight Sim, even though it was a highly rated game because it didn't have enough gamification elements, that they're adding a bunch more gamification into Flight Sim 2024. That's how I took
missions. You go do missions,
career types, type thing.
Yeah, rescues. It looked
and that's
cool.
what I want, right? I want an economy of some kind to earn my way up planes or in a system of some kind. Otherwise, it's just
you want
flying from airport to airport.
Yeah.
Yes, Travis, we do.
Yeah. But looks, beautiful game, no doubt about it. It's a stunning game to play. So pretty cool. Hopefully that goes well when that launches. Flintlock Siege of Dawn. This is one that's been coming for a while. So this, was announced last year. We've gotten previews of it, demos, etc. There's a demo, I think, right now on Steam Fest. This one is coming
already
out
waiting
in a
on
month.
my Xbox.
Yeah, it's coming out July 18th, so it's only a month away launching. It is launching day and date in Game Pass as well. So this one looks really cool. I like the look of it. I hope the extra time they've taken to polish it up does well for them. I'm definitely interested in checking this one out.
Yep.
So
I have a flight stick.
Then
you guys got a flight stick?
For Flintlock Siege of Dawn? No, I do not.
He's got a Sidewinder ready to go.
You were like,
you threw that wrench in there, man.
You were on like a 60-second time delay, Travis.
He's trying not to interrupt. He was listening.
I was trying not to interrupt. It's very hard to interject when you're just moving along hella quick, and I'm not.
Well, I'm trying to get through the rest of these games.
Yeah, I know. You guys, never mind. I just won't say anything. Okay, I just won't say anything. I can't interrupt. I can't.
All right,
I like it.
We got the next game from Rebellion, Atomfall, which is this is your Sniper Elite studio. So this one looks different, I would say. I don't know what to think about this one just yet, but
what was it?
Atomfall. So it looks like a
Fallout vibe.
Yeah, almost like they took their Sniper Elite kind of setting, but made it like kind of supernatural, maybe in a little way, right? Nuclear kind of
with the zombies games, the zombie trilogy, kind
of. Zombie
Sniper
Zombie
Army. Yeah. And the fourth one was actually super cool. My comment on this one was like, I was sitting next to Dee and she was like, "Is this Fallout?" And I was like, "I think it's like bad Fallout." I was like,
I had that vibe.
Yeah. I don't know. I hope it's better than that.
Another new IP we got is Fragpunk. So this is being made by a studio called, I think, Bad Guitar Studio, which is another subsidiary of Thunderfall Games, which is owned by Nexon. So again, that whole umbrella of Nexon. This one looks really interesting. And if you didn't see, it's kind of weird. They did a really short trailer in the showcase. That same day, they released an extended gameplay trailer, which is about 3.5 minutes you can look at, which shows you more of the game. And it actually looks really, really fun. So it's a 5v5 shooter, but where you can change the world around you based on cards you play. So you can turn the world upside down, you can big head mode, you can do all these kind of crazy things while playing the game. So it just looks like one of those games that could be a lot of fun to play, but obviously execution will be paramount. Yeah. So
I got like GoldenEye vibes from that one too, maybe just because of the big heads.
Yeah, it just looked like a fun PvP shooter, so we'll see how it turns out.
There do appear to be a lot of hero shooters contending for our time and interest in the future. I think I'm just going to pick Concord and stick with it.
With the void left by the implosion of Overwatch, I think it makes sense that we're seeing a lot of these because there's appetite for it.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, that's what they're hoping. I suspect most will fail.
Oh, definitely. But if there's an opening, got to take a shot, man. Overwatch is weak. When the king is weak,
kick him down.
The advisors get their knives out. Gonna try to see what make something happen over there.
I think, unfortunately, there are too many hero shooters that are being attempted, but we'll see.
Sounds like something a villain would say. Too many heroes. Hogue. What's your ulterior motive here? You want there to be fewer heroes, guys?
No more heroes.
Don't trust Hogue. Don't trust Hogue. He doesn't want there to be any heroes out there.
I think
I said I had to pick one. I'm currently in my head picking Concord.
Well, I think Concord is going directly for the themed character shooter, whereas this game looks to have those elements, but is trying a new gameplay element, right? It's going to really see how the execution of that element plays.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I'll just mention quickly Winterboro, very small game from a small studio, Pine Creek Games.
Looks awesome.
There you go. It's a Hogue game. It's a Hogue Notes game for sure.
It's a Hogue Notes game. We should put that on the box, folks. It's fantastic looking. It's Don't Starve if everybody were a tiny little cute forest critter. It looks great.
It's a Hogue-ass video game.
Sorry, I was typing, and my keyboard is very loud, so I was making sure I was muted about typing. So before we run down, we get to Gears and Black Ops real quick. Well, they announced Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater, which we knew was coming, but we got the trailer for that during the Xbox show. Yeah, definitely a big touch up in terms of the graphical presence of that game. So, and it's a classic, right? So, we got that, and then we got, as we usually do, right? Because Xbox has now, with their umbrella, they've got these games that are obviously big monthly MAU games, we call them, right? So the Fallout 76, Elder Scrolls Online, Sea of Thieves. We got all the kind of new content for those, right? That were highlighted, and then we did get Shattered Space. So
did we? I wanted a date on this thing.
Well, I was just gonna say the weird thing, and it was in our guessing game, and I predicted correctly that we got a window, which is again 2024, but not a date. Well, it's closing. You think in August?
I was thinking it would be August or September, but that's why I was so surprised that we didn't get a hard date. And I think that's like the Xbox showcase as a whole was excellent. I was just the one thing that really, I guess, took points off for was like I wanted to see some really, especially this year. What are your hard dates for releases 2024? After 2024, totally understand. We don't even need to see those. But I think if I would really like to see those release dates. I mean, you're talking really 5 months. You want to get your game out, pre-Thanksgiving, really, in most cases. So I would have liked to have seen that.
I think the thing that jumped out to your point is Indiana Jones, Avowed, and the expansion for Starfield, which is one of your obviously huge games. You're still saying 2024, but not having the dates was kind of weird, especially given that they had the Avowed date ready to go, apparently.
So not. I mean, they didn't mean to release that, right? I mean, I think we have to take it as a target date, not a release date.
Well, have you actually read it?
They pulled that down that post. I mean, they didn't mean to release it.
Yeah, I know, but it was scripted for release. You know what I mean? It's not like here's what we're doing and our target is this date. It was these are the core details of the game releasing November 19th.
But you're not giving any credit to the fact that they don't want that information out there, right? Like that is not the release date that they
November 12th.
Want people to remember.
I'm on the opposite side of Detective Seeds. I would like the release dates and windows to be even more vague. Yeah. I want them, if possible, to speak in riddle. I want them to say, I want to leave more confused about what's happening when than when I came, preferably.
That tie's too tight. You need to loosen it up.
I just think it's more exciting that way. Why do you guys got to put labels on everything? Why can't you just live free?
Got to label it. Just live free. Play the games when they release.
Describe it in the number of moons that have to pass. You got this.
California,
right? Or say, when the seas meet your heart, the game will release. Something. I want
6 and 8 moons away.
The only thing that we heard post show and talking with people there was that Xbox, despite the show being, generally I think accepted as incredible from a showcase perspective, that they've held a lot back because they're doing a big presence at Gamescom, which is August. So that's what we're hearing locally. Whether or not that proves to be true, we're 2 months away. We'll see. But it wouldn't surprise me at all, especially given that it'll be August. You only got 4 months left in the year at that point, that you get your big kind of gameplay with release date trailers at that point would be my thought.
It makes sense. If they don't have release dates at Gamescom for
at August,
that would be, I'd be like, what are you guys doing here?
So anyway, Shattered Space, I wanted to at least mention because it gives off it's got that horror-esque vibe, right? For Starfield. It gives a little darker vibe for what's coming in the expansion, but I'm intrigued by it, of course. I think it will get me playing Starfield again. Hogue, I know good. Being the big Starfield guy, what do you think?
It looks good. It does feel to me like House of Varun was essentially excised from the game and placed into this expansion a year later. So it does feel a little bit more like finishing the game than expanding the game to me. But I don't know how other people will feel about that.
That's sort of how I felt as well. House of Varun was one of those things that, like, after 300 hours, I was like, how did I never get to interact with these people, like, on a substantial level? You, like, interact with them just very, very barely. And I immediately was like, that will be the first expansion. And so this is that, and you're like, all right, it's exactly what I thought it was going to be. Which, to be fair, House of Ruin were kind of one of the most interesting parts of the game, which is why it was so weird that we didn't delve into them. So I'm interested.
I aimed right at them, and I could not find them, and I was like, I don't think they're in this game.
Yeah, they're basically not.
Well, yeah, so we'll see. Obviously, I would expect, as typical with these kind of big expansions, we're going to get some other touch-ups, some other tunings, and things like that of the game too. So we'll see how that turns out. But
the summer touch-up with the maps was good. I still don't love the maps for the cities because I don't think they're really built that way. But certainly, they added it to every place that you can land, and you can see the procedural stuff that gets added on. I think that it is a big improvement to the Starfield experience. I also, we're not going to get to it today, but I did see the internet talking about Star Wars Outlaws and the way they transition into planets, and I knew that I would as soon as they showed it in that trailer. But I think that it's overstated how Starfield doesn't have those transitions, which are just kind of mirrored load screens in other areas like Outlaws. So I still like Starfield. I will still defend Starfield, but I wanted a date for Shattered Space and I didn't get one.
Yeah.
Okay. We will get the Outlaws. We're gonna briefly. So
we are not going to cover it to my satisfaction. So we have to save it for next week.
So obviously we have Black Ops 6, October 24th, Game Pass. Beta is open to everyone, PlayStation, PC, Xbox. Phil Spencer made a big deal about this. I won't go into everything about Black Ops 6. The big thing that they're touting, of course, beyond all the obvious stuff, is the new kind of movement system that they're implementing with Black Ops 6, where you can kind of move and sprint in any direction. So that means strafe sprinting, reverse sprinting, jumping backwards, etc. Type of 360-degree movement. They showed this a lot in the 25-minute section at the end of the show, right? The direct. So I think it is neat, if nothing else, that, I'm not a big Call of Duty guy. I do have friends that play it. Of course, everyone has friends that play Call of Duty. But I do like that, it's Game Pass, right? So I don't even have to buy it now outright. So I'll get to try this and play it. And I'm curious to see how this movement feels as a big competitive shooter guy, thinking about sprinting and jumping backwards, and sideways and kind of max painting, if you will, in real time at Call of Duty speed, which is basically a Twitch shooter. It's going to be really interesting to test out. So I'm excited to test the beta and just see how it feels, because it's going to be different than what you typically play.
Yeah.
So
I thought Call of Duty looked fine. Unfortunately, I've seen so much Call of Duty coverage that I thought it was probably the most wasted direct half hour as compared to Starfield, where I didn't know anything about that product. And the problem I have with Call of Duty is that it always sounds the same. Like they're always talking about, oh, we got it this time. We know how to deal with kill streaks. We know what you people are asking for with respect to titles or guns or whatever. It always sounds the same. And then whenever the game comes out, it's an improvement or not. And it's certainly not for me. So don't take my word for it on this stuff. But it sounded like stuff that people would like to hear when they described it in the direct. I just have no idea how it will actually be received by the community that cares.
Yeah. Go ahead, Seeds.
This is definitely, in terms of Call of Duties that I've been looking forward to, this is definitely up there. I mean, I don't do the competitive PvP shooter as much anymore. My reflexes aren't like some of these kids out here that sniff, G Fuel off the desk. So, but the campaigns are really what, as weird as that might sound to Call of Duty fans, the campaigns are really what draws me in. I'd love to play through and see the character stories and how they evolve and things like that. So I liked that the campaign specifically in this one speaks to those real life events. I mean, we saw, some of the, President, was it Clinton. Or Bush? Yeah, Clinton was on there. And then we got to see, Saddam and kind of see that take place. So I like that. I like that realism. I enjoy going through playing them on veteran difficulty. I'll check out the beta, but after a certain period of time, I'll probably go through and do one prestige, and then I'm done in multiplayer, and then I'll play zombies with some of the buddies like that. But this one, I think, had a full coming off the heels of this last Modern Warfare that just didn't. I mean, it was basically a glorified DLC. This one actually had that time to cook and produce content that I'm looking forward to seeing. Yeah,
exactly. That's what I was going to say, is that this is, if you don't know behind the scenes, they had to reshuffle some things with their three studios. Development's been kind of a mess for a couple of years, which is why you got like remade maps and short campaigns and this kind of stuff. This is the one that Treyarch has been working on holistically for 4 years. So this is getting back to that fully featured expectation of Call of Duty with campaign, multiplayer, zombies, as you would have expected a few years ago. So
for sure.
Yeah. Sorry, Travis.
Also, the setting makes more sense to me now, because it's going to be like a conspiracy kind of altered history. It sounds like.
Yeah.
So it makes a little more sense, because at first I was like, really? that one? So it makes more sense now. I think to Hogue saying that it was kind of a wasted direct, I'm assuming he's talking for him personally, because obviously Call of Duty almost needs its own direct. I mean, it's got the biggest audience in the world. It's also the big game that Microsoft has right now. They also, I feel like they have to talk about it, right? They can't just have like a 5-minute trailer in the show. The Call of Duty used to have basically its own show at E3 or after E3 or sometimes before it, that was like as big as the main event, like that. So they kind of need to carve off like a little bit of their time, and I would expect them to continue to do so in future shows.
They have a show next month already. There's an extra show coming in July.
Yep. Yeah. So they kind of almost need to do this thing. Otherwise, players are just not going to be satisfied. They're probably not satisfied as we speak about the 30 minutes they got. So yeah, I think they need to do it. I will play this game. I've not been super enthused with Call of Duty in recent years, but I always bring myself to play them because they're such a big touchstone in our community. And hopefully I like it. I was very young when this happened. Actually, I was very young. I think
91, 92.
91, 92. I was born. I was very, very young. Like actually in diapers.
Good to know.
Yeah, so we'll obviously get a lot more on Call of Duty. That goes without saying. But let's talk. We'll close out the Xbox segment here with Gears EA. Of course, it goes without saying the feeling in the theater when we knew it was Gears, because they showed the Coalition emblem, and then you see Marcus, of course, and you heard me and a bunch of others say, "Wait, that's young Marcus, right?" So then our mind went to, are they just doing a collection announcement?
Remake.
Because that's been rumored too.
Yeah.
And when Dom saves him, right, and pulls him up, and they actually show E-Day, the place went wild. Like we went nuts.
To the courts in Mad World.
For those who don't know, right, Gears, we were expecting Gears 6, we were expecting Collection. No one, insiders or not, predicted E-Day. So this has only been written about. This takes place 14 years before Gears of War 1. And this was only in the books, really, talking in references to E-Day when the Locust first emerged and came out of the ground and the war started, basically. So you're going to get young Marcus.
It's in Gears Tactics for a little bit, E-Day.
Oh, fair.
Yeah.
Yes, fair. So you're going to get that story. Coalition has come out since and said that this is, if you don't know, Coalition are also like experts with Unreal Engine. So this should be a absolutely staggeringly beautiful title. And they said this is their fully featured next game, meaning that it will have Gears multiplayer, will have full campaign, kind of the fully featured suite that you expect from a major Gears game. They also did say, because people like me asked, that are you abandoning Gears 6? Because you kind of left the story. There's a big story there. They basically said, no, they're definitely not. They will be going back to Gears 6. This is something they wanted to do as as their next thing to kind of take that step. So it's also what a lot of Gears fans have been asking for. More of the old school Gears, more horror, more dark, more, scaled back, kind of not scaled back in terms of content, but scaled back in terms of scope, I think, of the battle with the Locust. So
my guess is
my easy game of show.
Yeah, my guess is that Gear 6 is going to be so big that they need a longer gap because there's stuff they want to do. And so I think this is a great stopgap. It's a part we haven't explored. It's characters that they know the community loves. Was definitely my biggest surprise. Well, besides seeing Perfect Dark, that was definitely my biggest surprise. But this was definitely like my biggest reveal, because you're right, nobody got this right, and I'm honestly glad it wasn't a remaster or a trilogy or whatever.
Me too.
This is more interesting. I'm One thing that I'm curious to hear you talk about, Ains, because this is something I immediately thought about, is like, how is it going to feel fighting just the Locust again?
Yeah, so they did create some kind of new enemy types with the Swarm, right? And if you don't know, spoiler alert, the Swarm are just locusts, right? They're evolved locusts. So I don't know. I think they probably go back to some Berserker type elements, right? They bring in the bigger kind of boss battle type things. And I have to imagine they'll introduce some of the things that, we've seen before. You start to see that they're on guard. I won't get into all the Gears lore, but, they did have quite a few different kind of enemy variations previously, and I'm sure they'll expand upon that.
But but that's my question is, can you expand on the enemy variety when it's in established lore and like we don't see them later? You know what I mean?
Sure.
The answer is yes.
I don't think there's any hard rules on that. Why not?
Interesting.
Yeah, I got goosebumps whenever we saw what it was. I mean, Gears of War, for me, just as a series. I mean, I had 4 deployments I took my Xbox with me on, and Gears was something that we just all engaged with and all played. I do the one thing that I am interested to see, because they are absolute wizards in Unreal, is them being really the first ones to I guess I should say first ones, but I'm interested to see the magic that they bring out in Unreal 5, because so far, when it comes to some of the games we've seen in Unreal 5, they've had some struggles. And so I'm really interested, because of how good they are with that engine. I'm interested to see, like, okay, if anyone can get it and polish it up and really maximize what that engine can do, it's going to be them. And that level of realism, I think that we are going to see from them using that engine will not only be breathtaking, but if they are able to maximize everything that they can do with it, I mean, you're talking, it may be early to say, but you're talking game of the year style content when it comes to that level of quality and what that studio can do, in my opinion.
Oh, I'm with you. And I think that, to Travis's point, just to echo what you said, Seeds, is this makes a lot of sense, because Unreal 5 is still evolving. Engines continually evolve, right? And it's continuing to get better and further updates. I think it's 5.4. Someone can correct me right now. It's on. But I think that this is a perfect time to spend a couple years making E-Day, which will kind of reignite the Gears passion. You've already seen it, right? Yeah. Reignite that Gears passion while the engine evolves and they become more attuned to the new features of the engine, which can then take them back to Gear 6, where they want to expand that scope and build on what they built in Gears 5, and then do it, at that same level of fidelity. So I think it's seemingly a great plan on the surface.
Yeah.
So, and Hogue, I know you're not a Gears guy. It's not a big franchise for you. Any interest in E-Day, like going back to that kind of old school Gears, or not really?
Emergence Day is my favorite bit of Gears of War lore. And honestly, when I talked about the Mad World commercial being one of my favorite pieces of marketing in video game history, it's because of the tone that they strike in that, and the notion of being in a perfectly valid city and having monsters jump up from the ground below, right? So I'm very happy and enthused to have a game called E-Day to look forward to. And I'm hopeful that they finally hit on a product that realizes all of the kind of tonal promises that initial Mad World commercial put forward. And I think it is noteworthy, I mean it, that they used Mad World in this new trailer.
They did, with a new remix. Yeah, it was cool. Yeah. Very cool. I will tell you, like the hardcore Gears people, like myself and many others in that theater, we were like, this trailer struck a chord big time. Especially when they showed Dom. They showed Dom for obvious reasons. And I'll shout out my brother right here, Lunch Bizzle, $20 super chat. Dom, that's all I have to say. So Bizzle is probably one of the biggest Gears fans I know. He has actually tattoo of Dom, a big tattoo of Dom. Yes, a big tattoo of Dom. So yeah, the passion in, I think I told you this before, Hogue. I was like, even for people who don't like Gears, like the passion in the Gears community they're passionate fans. And this one really, really hit. I don't think anyone expected it. Didn't leak. I'm glad it didn't leak, because
crazy.
Coalition and Xbox gets to have that moment where they have that trailer, which is just,
and it was perfect. Such a simple and well put together trailer. There wasn't They didn't do anything over the top crazy. It was just the moment that they showed of those two, impactful characters that we've got to see over the years and Gears come together and see the start and be able to experience that. It was a, what could have been a 3-minute long trailer within a, 30 seconds or whatever it was, that was just so impactful. Even sitting at home in your living room watching it, I was like, oh God, this is, because you're right. Fans of the Gears franchise have been asking, show us what happened. Like we want to play for a long time.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad that they listened to do that.
Was there also an E-Day section in Gears 4 when they're going through the history of Gears?
No, when they did the ROM DLC in Gears 3, that is actually back at that time period.
Wasn't there also Gears 4? She's given the speech in the beginning of Gears 4, and she talks about the war before, and then you play a little section where you're doing the war where it's going to be human.
I do think you play a small section of
I think you play a small section of E-Day
I don't remember that
as well. So this is one that I feel like because I remember there was a small bit of it. They've kind of been dancing around this, I feel like, for a couple of years. So it is cool that we're going to get a full game in it. Do you guys think that Marcus and Dom are the right avatars to control during E-Day, or would you prefer like a new character?
I think those are your two mains. If you're talking old Gears, those are the two that people want to use. Yeah,
I figure.
Yeah, Bizzle, thank you by the way, the super chat.
Yeah, I don't know why you deviate from that. I think those two are the ones you're going to want to play. Yeah,
and obviously you're going to run into. They're going to introduce, I would assume, I don't know the timeline as detailed as some may, but I would assume you're going to run into Cole and Baird at some point, right? Anyway, we'll see. I think that's, the easy game.
Is this the period where Baird is like a captain before he goes to trial and all that? Because they also did a prequel with Baird, right? So he would be, isn't he higher up now?
Yeah.
Judgment.
Yeah.
Talking about Judgment. Okay. I don't know the exact timeline there off the top of my head. I don't. Cole was playing football or Thrash Ball. What was it?
He was playing Thrash Ball when it happens, right? When E-Day happens.
He was a star. Yeah, he was a superstar. Yeah.
Isn't he like on the field when it happens too? Or am I making that up? Because you go back to his
I don't know. I don't remember. All right. So Xbox Showcase, I thought it was incredible. I did do a little video out there about why I thought it was important, separate from kind of just the overall thoughts on the showcase. That's on the channel. You can check that out too. But I thought this was a great show. I mean, when you talk about kind of summer showcase, E3 stuff, show us what you're cooking, give us some release dates for things that are coming this year, but also show us what's in flight. Don't stand on stage and talk to me for 10 minutes with actors that I don't care about. Don't waste my time. Just give me what I'm looking for out of your platform. I thought they nailed this one. This was fantastic.
Yep. I will say it was pretty stark to like have a show that was this big from Xbox and then not have the PlayStation show like 2 nights later, like we used to get.
I know.
I kind of missed that. I missed that part of it. And I know Nintendo either. So I really hope we get back to that, man.
The rumor was we were supposed to have the Nintendo Direct this week and it never came. So yeah, I don't know.
We'll have a Nintendo Direct.
Nintendo does release dates right. Innuendo and rumor. And you never really know when they're actually going to do stuff. That's the way to go. Yeah. That's the ticket.
Someday you'll get a new Metroid Prime.
Dude, Metroid Prime 4. Great. Metroid Prime 4 was announced 6 years ago.
I know.
Yeah. I mean, they did give us an update, though, where they said, this isn't working. We're starting over. So it's not like we've heard nothing. Like them saying it's starting over, you should know where they are with that game, which is like, it's development hell, man. It sucks.
No, this show was great. But like most E3 kind of shows, what I really liked are the surprises and the things I didn't know existed before.
Me
right?
too.
So Mixtape, Expedition 33, Winterboro, those are actually the things that spoke to me the most that I didn't know existed.
Expedition 33. Yeah. Well, and sadly, Tom Warren and group, right, as we know with leaks and rumors, Doom Dark Ages should have been a surprise, which would have been awesome. Sadly, we knew about that ahead of time. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess I was always expecting id to make another Doom.
So another Doom, yeah, but we didn't know they were going back. Yeah. Okay.
It was my second favorite of the big shows.
What was?
Xbox.
What was of the big shows? What was first?
Ubi.
Wow, that is
Bold.
Yeah, that's insane.
Ubisoft had a killer show for me personally, with stuff that I loved and stuff that I wasn't expecting to love that I wound up loving. So Ubi Forward was my favorite show of the big shows.
Am I incorrect in saying that Ubisoft had 0 new game announcements?
They didn't announce anything.
Okay.
Nothing. So Hogue just wanted content updates, basically, instead of an E3 style show.
I'm the PlayStation guy here.
I was not expecting to like Outlaws as much as I liked. Hearing.
No, I'm not arguing their content's not good. I'm just saying from a showcase perspective, they only showed stuff that's out or coming out like we knew about. There was no surprise. That's all.
I think Just Dance on VR was new, which I will be playing.
Pre-show.
Okay.
It was in the pre-show, which was very disrespectful, as was
They announced a brand new Anno. That's like my favorite PC series.
Nothing else.
Anno 117, yeah, Pax Ramona.
They talked about
Roman
water.
Empire in Anno. This is a fantastic day, folks. Anno is a fantastic series. We can't all
argue with you
in corridors all the time.
You're arguing with yourself.
Yeah, you're just yelling, and no one's arguing with you. Calm down. Have your Anno. Enjoy it. I hope you love it.
Have your Anno and your Ritalin. Let's get you to calm down a little bit.
So, in all seriousness, we are at 3 hours, 15 minutes.
I can't do Ubisoft.
I know.
Yeah.
Hogue wants to talk about Ubi in more depth. We're at our end. Dan had to go. Seeds has to stop too. So let me just say this real quick. We will talk about Ubi in depth next week. I played Star Wars Outlaws. I can talk about it. I played multiple missions in Star Wars Outlaws, which I can talk about.
Yeah.
I did sit through the producer demonstration for 30 minutes of Assassin's Creed Shadows. So I can talk about that in more depth than what was shown as well. And we will obviously cover the other content updates that they did as well next week. So sorry about that. We wanted to get to all 3 shows, but there's a lot of games to talk about here.
There's a lot.
So I will give you details on that. I may I'm trying to put up additional preview stuff, but there's so many games to talk about. So we'll see if I get to Outlaws sometime this week on the SG side of the house. If not, we will definitely talk about it next week as well.
I just realized
I actually got to meet one of the guys who works at Ubisoft, who has been a big supporter of SG and our content. Met him in person. It's great. And I also went to lunch real quick right after the Ubisoft show. Went to lunch around the corner, and Goodnightly, the creative director of Star Wars Outlaws, walked in, and I talked to him too. So we got a picture together, which was really neat. So
name
it was a
drop.
good time.
Look at Hollywood seducing you, just getting you in there. I love it.
Hollywood. Yes, the creative director of Star Wars Outlaws in Hollywood.
You took a picture with Sam Lake at like 3 in the morning and sent it to me.
We were sharing a drink. Sam Lake is everything you would expect Sam Lake to be in person.
He had his 3 a.m. with Sam Lake, and you guys criticized me.
And more importantly, I met Miyazaki. Couldn't say anything because he doesn't speak English, but I got a picture with Miyazaki, the god. So
the god.
He's a god.
You're not reviewing that game, right? I don't think you're allowed to review games made by people you consider to be a god.
He's handing off the review, which actually surprised me.
I am not handing off the review of Shadow. I
thought you said you were giving Erdtree to.
No. I was handing off First Descendant because I'm reviewing Shadow.
Oh, okay.
Do you have to put a disclaimer in a review if you literally worship the creator of a game?
That it's part of my religion. Yes.
Yeah, it's part of my religion to like this game, so maybe take my opinions with a grain of salt. Anyway, here's the review. Yeah, I think that's right.
I can already tell you, Erdtree is going to be well received by Ains.
By Ains, you mean by everyone, just like Elden Ring was. It's one of the highest rated games of all time. What are you even trying to debate here?
Do you need me to find one review that proves that not everybody liked it?
I didn't say everybody. I said nearly everyone.
Let's wind it back. Stenographer, please read the notes.
Anyway, yeah, and I did play Shadow already too. Haha. So we will cover everything Ubisoft next week. Sorry about that, but it's been a long show. Let's go ahead and wrap this up. So on the SG side of the house, actually, I'll start with you, Seeds, because we've got a guest today. So why don't you shout out your channel, my friend, the content you've been working on, and anything you'd like to, where people can find you. Anything else you'd like to call out?
Yeah, if you want to follow me on X at Detective Seeds, YouTube channel is Detective Seeds. Getting close to 17,000 subscribers over there.
Nice.
I've niched down around platinum trophy hunting, doing those videos. Absolutely love doing those videos. I do a lot of previews as well. I did get to go hands on with Star Wars Outlaws as well remotely because I couldn't make the trip out there. So
it's good.
Yeah, thanks to Ubisoft. So I do have a video up of that, of my impressions of that. So I do get codes a lot, but I've primarily switched from, doing the actual reviews to doing the kind of a review within getting the platinum trophy. So I've become more completionist style and niche down around that area, which has been very beneficial to my channel. So
sweet.
Yeah, if you guys like that, like seeing somebody suffer, definitely check out my channel. And I really appreciate you guys, allowing me to come on. I appreciate the support you guys have given, behind the scenes and just the overall friendship, and continue to support you guys and what you do here. And I just want to say thank you.
Of course. Dan, you've been great.
Yeah, Dan from Australia.
No, seriously. Yeah,
Dan
great. Like I
Australia.
told everyone, go check out Seeds' channel. As you can tell from the show here, great dude. It's been great getting to know you more. And hopefully next year we can do LA together. So that'd be fun.
For sure.
On the SG side of the house, so my Phantom Blade Zero preview is up. You can go read that if you want to learn more about that game. I should have Shadow of the Erdtree coverage this week. I am actually allowed to talk about what I played now, so I'm going to try to do a preview for tomorrow before the reviews come out later this week. So you can check that out. I'll be obviously talking a lot about that in the coming week. Destiny 2 Final Shape review from Steve is up as well, which, if you want someone along with Travis, Steve is another one of those guys that has, 9.
Nice.
Yeah, he loves it. He was right in line with what you said, pretty much.
That's what Travis gave him.
Yeah. And Eric, we have a couple of Destiny guys at SG that have just loved it to death. Alex as well. Yeah.
It is a 9. Yeah.
So that stuff's up, and like I said, stay tuned for more stuff coming. There's a lot more to even talk about that I didn't touch on today. So we'll get into more of it next week. But I'm looking forward to talking about Star Wars Outlaws. It is good. Played really well. And AC Shadows looks freaking fantastic. So anyway, more to come. Travis, hit us.
Just we could read and watch my Destiny review. It's the biggest thing I've worked on. Really, really excited for everybody in the community to finally get see their faith rewarded after all these years. Really cool. Other than that, I've got a bunch of cool stuff coming up that I am not ready to talk about yet. So that's me.
Very good. Ho, close us out.
Sure. I'd like to pretend I'm under embargo from all these things I can't tell you about. But in all honesty, I still have the last video I did up on the terms of service for Adobe, which I know a number of people had asked me about. And in that same video, I talk about potentially closing down my Patreon and other support mechanisms because I don't think that I can provide enough video content for that level of support. So we're going to see how that looks in the future. But if you are interested in any of those topics, they're in my latest video on the channel. And please come visit me at Hoglaw on YouTube. That's it. Thank you for chatting with me. I'm sorry if I was a negative Nancy, but I'm actually very excited about the future of gaming. And I love a lot of the things that were shown in the last little while.
And next week, you're going to be on positive train because we're going to be talking about Ubisoft, your favorite show in the batch, as we know, which was
some Hogue-ass video games, baby.
Hogue-ass video games. And we know that it was your favorite show specifically because they spent 10 minutes talking about the water and Skull and Bones. Let's see that hat on one last time before the end of the show. Let's see that hat, Hogue. There it is. There it is.
Nice.
Yeah. Full circle.
Very good. Chat, you've been awesome today. Anyone checking this out later or listening on audio, thank you so much. Big show today, and appreciate all the support as always. We'll be back to our regular cadence next week as we approach episode 300. We'll be sharing details on that soon too, as soon as we figure them out. So more to come on that soon. Hope everyone has a great week of gaming. Enjoy your Elden Ring. I know you're out there. My Shadow of the Erdtree peoples. We will talk about that next week for sure, along with a bunch of other things. We will see you then. Peace.
Happy Father's Day.
And happy Father's Day.